I have never had an experience like I did yesterday during the day when I just got up in the morning projectile vomiting and couldn't move around, couldn't do much of anything. The only thing I was able to do is successfully take my dog to the front of the grass and then immediately bring him right back because I couldn't stay out there. But late last night, as the Knicks started vomiting, I started feeling better. I believe that Naismith could have cured COVID.
Naismith, it's a fine. Naismith is a good doctor, by the way. They invented the game.
Give him some grace. He watches everything on mute.
Dr. Naismith.
I'm right there with you, pal.
What happened last night, I don't like what I'm seeing in the mirror. I don't. I'm just hating. I'm only watching to hate. It's not like I'm rooting. Like what the Pacers did should be celebrated.
I'm so confused as to who I'm going for in this series. I was literally putting my hat like Memphis Bleak anytime the Knicks had the ball, but then I wanted to watch them choke. I was just such a fan of the theater last night, and they provided one of the greatest spectacles in the history of basketball.
It became crystal clear last night what I was rooting for.
Yeah,
Once the pain, I was like,
No.
oh, this is the good stuff.
I got to tell you, though, it kind of flipped, though, because he hits the choke. He has the layup, but he pulls back like a badass going to take the
Then
three.
you're rooting again.
And then he has the choke, and you're like, oh, my God, that's badass. But then you realize his foot was on the line. You're like, oh, I kind of want him to be embarrassed now, too.
I mean, did he have the layup? Because I thought Mitchell Robinson was going to prevent him from the layup. But it was still badass what he did, that he decided to step back on that.
Yeah, I think I don't know whether it was because Mitchell Robinson was there or that was his plan all along. Either way, pretty badass to step back, hit that shot. And by the way the ball hit the rim, went up in the air, and then dropped down, reminded me of Don Nelson in the Celtics championship like years and years
Nelly.
ago. Yeah.
Reminded me of the sixth man, only instead of like Kadeem Hardison, it's Jim Irsay.
Let's hold that for the real show. I have accompanying
And
imagery.
even if he didn't have the layup, though, like he had an easy runner like in that paint. So if he was reading Mitchell Robinson and he decided to pull back, Mitchell Robinson was going to the cup, so I can understand the contention that it would have been contested at the very least. I like Haliburton's chances as an all-star, but so badass to be like, nah, I'm going for the win.
He makes those shots a lot more than anybody does. Like the stats are 12 for 14 late in games, 2 minutes left to tie or take the lead.
It's the luckiest shot in the history of basketball, no? Yeah. I mean, that thing, how many times did it bounce on the rim?
Just once.
Just once.
Me and Tony were you making the argument that wasn't luck?
No, I wasn't making the argument it wasn't luck. It felt like the moment that it went up in the air, I was like, oh, that's going in. The way that this game is going, that ball's going in. And sure as hell, boop, straight through.
As soon as it bounced that high, I was like, it's in. Irsay's going to wish that one in.
We've seen a shot go in like that during games. I've never seen it at the buzzer. At the buzzer, that's not
Don Nelson.
I've not seen that.
Nelly.
I know you mentioned it, but I don't remember what you're talking about. I don't know. I've never seen a buzzer beater that does that.
Kawhi Leonard?
Yeah, that one danced a little bit.
Yeah.
It didn't bounce as high, but it definitely had
the
a bounce.
apex
That's
of
a good
this
one.
was,
Yeah.
You could the half second that it was in the air was just the greatest thing. When you realize, oh shit, it's coming straight back down.
I mean, you can't tell on television. You're saying the Kawhi Leonard, that bounced on the rim a dozen times. The same thing with the Allen Houston shot. The thing that was great and perplexing about this is a ball that ricochets like that never goes back in the basket, and the angles on television make it so that's not going in. There's no way that went straight up and it's gonna swish from the rafters.
I knew it. The moment it went up, it went straight down. I knew it.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. passion. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the let out the sheets. You can't go out, man, forget my peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, man so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize, right there, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan, if you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that, stop that, stop that.
So I often say my father did this when he was younger. I've never seen something like that in my life, and it's covering a lot of ground. But what you saw from the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers last night is something that none of us have ever seen. And the way that it escalated, Stugotz, that made it so fun is how quiet and scared you can feel and hear New York being. Haliburton was quoted yelling as he ran to the locker room, "Why is it so quiet in here?" And the sheer balls, Stugotz, just the unbelievable strength in him saying that he was going to go for the floater, then Bridges hits the ball. Then he backs up and tries to take a three. But in that moment, Stugotz, for him to immediately recognize now's a good time to do the choke sign, for the history of it, to be standing in the center of Madison Square Garden and to immediately do that because you're not caught up in your own emotion as you've just won the game. You're as interested in breaking the other people, being the villain and mocking them as you are at winning, Stugotz, when you go that early. To that quickly to that kind of celebration that mocks all of New York. And we haven't had a lot of players willing to do that. Reggie Miller did it once upon a time, but a lot of players who are willing to embrace that doesn't happen a whole lot.
Well, shout out to Tyrese for a couple of things. Number one, he said, had I known it was a 2, I wouldn't have done that celebration. Yeah. Right? I thought I won the game. And he said, I probably can't do it anymore because then it'll seem a little disingenuous. He also said he didn't talk to Reggie, but he did lock eyes with him when he did it. And finally, he said he respects and knows the history, and he knows Reggie Miller did that choke sign. That was the series they lost in '94, and he said, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to win. So
yeah, pretty aware. And also, last night, he became a superstar.
100%.
And this is why having the Knicks and that platform, that stage, the Mecca, is so big for guys like Haliburton. It doesn't register the same. Maybe it does with the defending champion Boston Celtics, but
you needed this.
That's
in
the
same
moment.
In the same way that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would have, if he had done it against the Warriors, not that the Warriors are great, but just because of the attention that Steph Curry brings, that would have catapulted him. Or, flip side, Anthony Edwards needed like the Lakers to be on this stage, or someone like that. Obviously, that wasn't going to be an option for him because he played them already. But that's the part of the passing the torch, is you need that high profile moment, right? And what the Knicks do is they provide a built-in, doesn't matter how good they are, it's going to be a high-profile moment if you do it against the Knicks.
Dan, yesterday we were talking about this NBA reset, the getting away from LeBron and Steph, can't count on them anymore, and you have to put in the sweat, put in the time to develop these new superstars. A moment like last night really fast-tracks this for the NBA.
Haliburton has done this in every series so far in the playoffs. He's had a moment where it's like crossing Giannis, game winner at the bucket. He did the same thing against Cleveland where he looped back, went back, shot a three. I don't think it was a game winner, but it was to go ahead.
It was
late in the game.
It ended up being a game winner.
Okay.
It's going to be remembered the way that Ray Allen was. Like, everyone remembers that shot, right? But they don't know exactly how Miami won that game. It's conflated, like Miami won the game on that shot. No. History's always going to remember that Haliburton shot, even though it wasn't a game winner.
It's interesting that we're starting here when you consider that we had one of the biggest collapses in hockey history last night. I mean, the Oilers are up 3-1 headed into the third period. They haven't played a game in a week. They beat the Knights in 5 games. I mean, the Dallas Stars, they just came off a 7-game series with the Jets. That series ended, I think, on Saturday. They had no rest. They're down 3-1 at home. They come back. They get the job done. This is an Oiler team that has the best hockey player in the world. This is an Oiler team that went to the Stanley Cup a year ago. This is an Oiler team that's finally trying to win a Stanley Cup for the country of Canada. They are up 3-1, headed into the third period, and they blow that lead. And 5 goals they give up to the Stars in the third. What a joke.
How are you feeling?
And what a joke.
How are you feeling today, Stugotz?
I feel great. I feel fine. Why? I had the Stars last night. And the Knicks in the first half. I mean,
Attaboy.
How are you feeling, Dan?
Like it's unfair to Neesmith to make it all about Haliburton.
yeah.
That's how I'm feeling. Guy made 6 threes in the fourth quarter. It's never happened before in a playoff game. And
Hockey collapse.
the way that happened ever so slowly, where Neesmith is making not just threes, but absurd threes. And you can just feel like he's up in the air. He's changing flight and air. And what was happening in Madison Square Garden, I mean, is like, this is how it felt to me, because it's been 25 years of suffering, and you also understand, right? They're overreacting to early playoff wins as a city because they're so starved. Nobody reacts this noisy to first and second round victories. And so they're feeling themselves yesterday. They're up 17 points. They're showing all of the celebrities, and Indiana is taking New York's best shot. This is Brunson going efficiently for 40. This is Karl Anthony Towns being efficient in getting his point totals. You're up early in the game, even though you're up in the first period, even though Indiana shoots 74% in the first quarter. And at the half, you're winning by 7, and it's a wonderful game to watch. But then in the fourth quarter, New York goes up 17, and what we've never seen statistically, like this is the stat, NBA teams were 0-970 when down by 14 or more points in the final 2 minutes.
Is that bad?
50 seconds of regulation in the playoffs over the last 27 postseasons. They're now 1-970.
Prior to last night, teams leading by 9+ points in the final 1 minute of the fourth quarter of an NBA playoff game were 1,434-0 since 1997.
They were due. Law of averages.
Indiana's done this 4 times. Coming
This
down.
I thought it's never happened.
No, from down 15, excuse me. From down 15, they've come back 4 times during just this postseason. That's a product of the way the game is played today, right? That's just all that is. Like those.
I mean, the Knicks came back from 20 down, 2 games in Boston. So, yeah, I think it's a product of how the game is played today, of course. The threes can get you back in the game very quick.
Well,
The Knicks, when they came back, the threes got them in the game, but it wasn't their threes that got them back in the game. It was the Celtics missing a bunch of threes that got them back in the game.
why are you talking like that?
I don't know.
So Haliburton is now 12 for 14. 12 for 14 when he's shooting to tie or lead in the last 2 minutes of the game. And Mike's saying, well, that's what makes you a superstar. And I'd say, yeah, you need moments like that. But what's going to make him a superstar is that he's got personality.
Well, I mean, that was on display. His personality with that platform, with that moment for a guy that's had a lot of moments. And I would bet dollars to donuts that dude shows up at SummerSlam in MetLife Stadium.
I don't know why you keep betting dollars to donuts. I don't know why.
Very
this
Dave
keeps
Sampson thing to
happening.
say,
It always
right?
gets a reaction.
Dollars to
don't know.
donuts.
I
I mean, let me put on my
plays.
Dan hat and say, where does that saying come from?
Donuts
It
are
always-
cheaper.
Someone
so
do
he-
some research
he
for
bet
us.
dollars.
It always works. It always works.
It's just it's
That's the
unnecessary.
sticky stuff.
Put it on.
Polarizing saying.
Put it on the poll
That's
at
what makes me an
Le Batard
ascending
Show.
personality.
Do you believe in the saying, betting dollars to donuts? Because
How about Stuart Skinner last night, huh?
I don't trust him. The weight of a nation and Stu Skinner, they got to go back to Pickard, right?
He either has a shutout or is the worst goalie in playoff history.
It's a crazy thing.
In the mid-1800s, donuts could be bought for just a few nickels. So dollars to donuts.
Yeah, you'd bet dollars because they're worth more because you're that convinced of it. The thing about Haliburton, though, when it comes to personality, Jokic, what's the personality? No, I could do it to all of them, though. Doncic, what's the personality?
Hookah.
Yeah, but Ja Morant.
Guns.
I mean, okay.
Well, he's got some personality.
Ja's got
a lot of personality.
too much
Too
personality.
much, right? Dial it back.
I don't know how to do this one today.
The guys in the league, Anthony Edwards is a bit unvarnished, right? So part of his personality traffics in what today passes for the modern day Allen Iverson, where, he's a little dangerous. Yes, he's going to get fined for stuff. He says what he wants.
Modern day Cromartie also.
But when you look at doing that, Stugotz, in Madison Square Garden, and at the end, the story becomes all about Haliburton when they were down 17, and Nesmith, who isn't the guy you fear there, he's just not I'm not saying he's not good. He's just not.
He's capable of that game, though.
But he's just not the guy that you're fearing for 6 threes.
And not missing, Dan.
Not missing.
Didn't miss.
This is the thing, right? Like, I know it's going to be a historic choke. I know there were turnovers and missed free throws, and I know in overtime the Knicks fell apart. But the Pacers did take it from them. Like, the last 5 minutes of the game, they made all their threes, and the one that wasn't a three was Haliburton stepping on the line that should have been a three. Like, they didn't miss a shot. It wasn't it. So you can say that, well, holy shit, I can't believe they scored 20 points that fast. But the Knicks also scored. Like, it wasn't a 20-0 run. It's just that the Knicks weren't making these crazy threes that Nesmith was making.
I'm going to fight back on Nesmith making crazy threes. Yes, he hit them all, and, no one is expected to hit 100%. But he got great looks because the Knicks defense gives up a lot of open looks. And we talked about this against the Celtics. The Celtics, yes, they took too many threes, should have drove, especially up 20. But I understand why they took them, because they were open.
I don't want to be the guy to blame people that do things, but OG Anunoby, buddy.
Oh, boy.
Buddy. If you don't go above the screen one time, okay, you're playing drop coverage like Nesmith hasn't hit 19 shots in a row. OG, please. And hit a free throw, by the way. That would have been the game.
They were up 9 with under
Christ
a minute
almighty.
to go.
I had the Knicks.
Cat too. Cat skating on that miss.
Going over screens.
Yeah, Brunson also missed.
Brunson was terrible.
By the way,
he was terrible in the final moments of that game.
There were at least 3 or 4 almost turnovers that the Knicks didn't turn up, but there were almost turnovers. Yeah. It was uncharacteristic how unclutch they were.
What is Haliburton's ceiling? In terms of in terms of superstardom, because we were talking back here off mic. He reminds me a lot of Damian Lillard. Made me wish, because I was a big Dame guy. I know Dame had some moments in the playoffs, but he never really he went to the Western Conference Finals one time.
Got swept, though.
Yeah, got swept, even though they led every game in that series.
Yes, they did.
But
they didn't really get
wasn't
swept.
a sweep.
Yeah. It was a Brenda Moore sweep. He had the game to have those moments. The moments just never came to him. Haliburton's had a lot of these moments. But is his ceiling Damian Lillard type superstar, or are we pushing into this guy can be face of the league, marketable, like damn near Steph territory?
So Dame at his peak was marketable, maybe not face of the league, but
signature shoe.
But signature shoe, like a brand ambassador for Adidas and all that stuff, and a host of other national brands. I don't think Haliburton is as good as Damian Lillard's peak, but he definitely, I think, has a more engaging personality. Dame is still kind of a gruff, reserved, kind of old school professional in his approach. Haliburton's willing to put on that black hat and mix it up a little bit and be a little bit of a dick, and I think that helps significantly in how big his brand could be. I'll tell you who's most upset today out of anybody in the world.
Reggie Miller?
Nope. No, Reggie's happy. Reggie loves it. Reggie loves it.
Reggie's back in the
Stuart
headlines.
Skinner? I mean,
Skinner? Superintendent Chalmers? No. It's Trae Young. Because he's like, that was my corner. That was my lane. I rolled dice at half court, and then you take it away from me. What are you doing? Dummies, dummies.
Well, and the irony is that Haliburton is basically a better version of Trae Young in every way, because Trae Young might lead the league in assists, but he also has a ton of turnovers. And what makes Haliburton so unbelievable and his future so bright is that he's basically a perfect point guard. On April 2nd,
The last hope.
On April 2nd, he recorded his 14th game with 20 points, 10 assists, and 0 turnovers. That was the most in NBA history since they started counting for turnovers. He passed Chris Paul, who had 13 such games. So he's already there, and he's in his 20s.
So, among other things also that helps Tyrese Haliburton, that he has, that not too many people in the sport have. Some people do, but not too many people have. He's got a great personality, but you know what else? His dad has a great personality. And so I don't know if you guys got to see
Barkley.
how John Haliburton experienced that game and that game winner last night. But he did, and he was glorious. Glorious in his. Put it on the
Look at
screen.
him.
Look at him right there.
Choke signal.
He's with choke signals.
He's a game tire.
He's at a bar, a sports bar. Where is he? Probably in Indiana.
That our test jersey.
Our test jersey. I mean, look, this right here, ladies and gentlemen. This is like PEDs, right? Because you got a guy who's got great personality, who's got a dad who's got a great personality. Come bring it together. Give him a TV show. Call it Highly Questionable.
Seems he's learned his lesson.
Seems like he's watching
highly
Lillard Stars.
staying out of the spotlight.
Good try, Mike.
What happened?
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. Who thought of that? I don't know.
Haliburton dominates the headlines today because it happened against New York. And at least in part, Stugotz, because if you stuck with that game after the Knicks took a 17-point lead.
There's a lot of people who didn't, by the way, right? They woke up today thinking the Knicks won. Anyway, sorry.
I've got to assume so. I have to assume that that's what happened today, that a lot of people gave up on that because if you just rewind, and it's hard to fathom, right, how quickly all of this stuff changes. I simply want to take you back to how good New York felt and how many people were yelling at Neesmith and others for continually fouling Knicks three-point shooters, stinky Knicks three-point shooters, as Brunson left the game with foul trouble, and that seemed to be Indiana's best chance to win the basketball game. They were down 2. Brunson leaves the game. He's leaving the game for 8 minutes. At the end of it, the Knicks are up 14. I remind you how good New York felt right then. Scrappy underdog. We don't even have to do it with the smallest player on the court. Our guys are clutch. You remember how we loved Hartenstein and those Villanova grit, and we didn't want DiVincenzo, the foreigner, to be traded because we loved all of that grit. But now, at the end of that sequence, they're feeling great about their role players. They're feeling great about everything that just happened. And then their heads get caved in. You have to imagine Knicks fans, all of them, slept poorly last night, right? Every last one.
You have them sleeping.
Every last one.
Well, the ones that went to sleep when they were up 17, they slept like a baby. The ones who watched the entire game, they didn't get a wink. I mean, none of them. Seriously. It was embarrassing.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Did a single Knicks fan sleep well last night?
The Haliburton discussion is interesting because I would say his upside is, I think he's better than Damian Lillard. This is a guy who's the best guy on his team. He's taken his team to the conference finals 2 years in a row, and now he's on the verge of going to the NBA finals. Relax. I mean, Damian never did that.
Relax.
Oh, come on.
On the verge.
Relax.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I will say this.
He's the best player on his team. He's taken them to the Eastern Conference Finals twice. Damian went once.
In terms of surrounding talent, he does have an argument. Like this isn't an uber talented team around Tyrese Haliburton. Lillard never really had a super talented team around him.
Lillard never had a super talented team around him. Also, Lillard played with the Warriors and Thunder and Rockets and all these 65-win teams left and right.
Yeah, that's probably
also the
better
supporting
point.
cast is like, I think that's the big reason none of us expected any of this from the Pacers the last couple of years, is because no one around the NBA respects people like Neesmith and Nembhard enough. These guys are really, really, really good two-way players.
Dan, I'd like to shift gears to something a little bit more somber here. I'm sorry. I know we're all excited to talk about the game. No, it's not about hockey. It's still about the game, but I'm really concerned. I'm very concerned. A dear friend of mine His name is Elite the producer. He's a Grammy-winning producer for Dreamville, and he disappeared somewhere within that 9-point blown lead for the Knicks, and we haven't heard from him since.
Like a missing person?
Like we pinged him, we've added him, we've sent text, direct messages. He's not responding. So I know this is live. If you know Elite and you've seen him, please tell him his friends miss him and are worried about him and his health. I'm hoping everything's okay. I know last night must have been tough, but buddy, we're really worried. Thank you. Sorry, guys, as you were.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes, high sticking.
It was pretty high.
You thought it was that high?
Guilty.
The Pacers.
Is there blood? Nope, we're good.
The Pacers are 43-16 this calendar year. Okay, they started a bit slowly, and I understand how it is that both you can underestimate this before it starts, and then you get a moment like that and get carried away and make him better than Damian Lillard. But I will say that when I was introduced to Haliburton, and I don't know how or when this happened for you, but for me, it was when he was playing here against the Heat, and he started pulling up from 35 and 40 feet. And I'm like, oh, there's another one who could do what Steph and Damian Lillard do, and Trey less efficiently. But it was the first time I'd seen another player extend the range. And when Jeremy says, and he is right about this, when he says you underestimate Nesmith as a two-way player, you really do understand that when Anunoby doesn't look like an athlete against other athletes, you've got on the court a bunch of hybrids who can play a lot of different kinds of basketball against people, and what it is that you're watching with the sport changing, because it's not just that it moves from Steph and LeBron to a new kind of stardom and younger players. It's a style of play that's different, Stugotz, because I also remember coming in here all excited one day because I was watching early Golden State Warriors basketball, and they had a 3-on-1 break, and two of their guys went to the corner 3 spots instead of going for the layup.
It's the most excited I've ever seen you.
But I'm like, what the hell? What the hell is happening out here with this? The idea that you have a player in the league, okay, who's mic'd up during the game and he's saying of Mitchell Robinson. That guy doesn't even have to jump or anything because he's got his fingers go down to his ankles. And so Mitchell Robinson, he's like, I love that guy because Mitchell Robinson is just, he's very long. And what Haliburton was articulating is that's what's defending him at the end of the game. That size mismatch, and he's going at it. It's what it is that he's attacking. He says afterward that he was thinking about the floater, Bridges sort of hits the ball. The idea to step back there, Stugotz, and be like, I want to win this game. I don't want to tie it right now.
Right. Yeah. If you're going to step back, though, step back all the way back.
That's a great point. And he would have been totally crushed had he not stepped all the way back. And then he would have been a punchline forevermore. It teetered that much. They had to handle business in overtime, but they've shown the play a bunch of times since you had the take. You weren't so sure that he had a lane to a layup. I'm kind of siding with you. I see it. It did seem like Mitchell Robinson had good positioning, and while he would have had an attempt at the rim, it would have been difficult. So I think he made the right basketball move outside of, not maybe being an inch further.
You guys do understand, though, that this moment that we're talking about, this wonderful moment, pure luck.
The ball went above the shot
Pure
clock.
It went
luck.
twice as high as I remember.
It was on a good trajectory though. It looked kind of pure.
It didn't barely bounce up. It went up to the shot clock.
Yeah, that's the highest apex I've ever seen on a rebound. It's crazy.
and then swished. Didn't.
Oh, nothing but net.
Jim Irsay just blew that one into the hoop.
Yep.
Don Nelson, 1969.
Nelly.
Would you guys please, for a moment, understand that I went 17 times. I projectile vomited yesterday. But about as good as I felt watching sports is the 1 second that ball hung in the air after watching the previous 6 minutes of I'm watching New York deflate. These people are scared. These crowd shots are great. They're better than the basketball. These crowd shots are just sweeping fear, just waves of fear through the building. They know what's coming and then just freeze it on that 1 second. Do you know how painful it is? Because they're like, we're going to lose. We're going to lose. I feel like we're going to lose. We're going to lose now. Oh, the ball's in the air. We're going to lose. Then they go to replay, and they nullify the whole thing. We're still going to lose. I know we're going to lose. You know why? Because for 25 years we've lost.
Then they get out to that 4-point lead in overtime. It's New York. Yeah, you choked. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that.
Look, I'm going to tell you right now, the book on how the basketball gods work says because he celebrated too much despite stepping on the line, the way that overtime started, I was like, oh, this is going to turn into an even more obnoxious win for the Knicks. And then they fell apart. And why did they foul Obi Toppin? Why is Mikal Bridges trying to block Obi Toppin at the rim?
And they didn't call it, which they got
That was
lucky.
crazy. What a putback, though.
lucky.
If anybody is interested in a Top Shot NFT.
Oh, it's never been
dude,
higher.
never
It's
higher.
never been higher.
You on a corner three
No,
for
never
Obi
been
Toppin.
$20.
I'll take it. Venmo right now. It's yours.
I think of you every time he does something.
My mentions still get flooded. Top Shot was a moment in time, I guess. I really registered it.
I'd like to bring up something here, though, for Amin, because Amin was saying earlier in the show, and I don't want to skip past this, okay? Empirically, Jalen Brunson is the most clutch player in the league by leaps and bounds. He scores more in the fourth quarter than anybody else. What I will tell you is the expectations on Jalen Brunson right now are different than they've ever been. The fear in that building is something that I could feel. The fear in that building is something that I could feel on my television. And Brunson totally fell apart at the end of that game.
He did.
The inbounding by the Knicks, and specifically Brunson, he had a historic throwaway that Anunoby happened to get at midcourt, but he was trying to hit somebody. He was trying to hit a Pacer in the leg, and it would have been a disastrous turnover, and he had others during the game. And what I'm telling you is when you see the shift, and it's only one game, and we'll see this story play out on whether or not Brunson can take this from Haliburton as they're trying to fight over the league. Who gets to take the league? But in clutch moments, last night, Haliburton's your guy. Brunson fell apart. It's a one game, and I'm just talking about the end. He had a good statistical game. I mean, you can't tell me he was having trouble bringing the ball up.
So he was great up until he got his fifth foul. And his fourth and fifth fouls were both really dumb fouls. It was Karl Anthony Towns level fouls. We're like, what are you doing? That's not what you do. You're the smart guy, right? And so then after that fifth foul, it kind of, I think, he came back in, and I don't know if his confidence was messed up or something, but clearly the pressure got turned up on him, and he looked uncharacteristic. Like,
it was weird.
We don't see him look like that ever. That's what made it stand out.
He looked clumsy. I mean,
he looked clumsy.
Yes.
That pass in particular, the one that ended up in OG Anunoby's hands, like that was oh my God, he just blew the game right there. And I was like, oh, OG caught it. Never mind. Game over. All he's got to do is hit these 2 free throws, which of course we know didn't happen. The other play, by the way, Dan, was the inbound pass. I think it was on a side out of bounds where Josh Hart slips.
Yes.
And was it Nembhard? Nembhard, if he had not just tried to get the ball immediately, if he had taken one step, that was going to be a steal and a turnover the other way as well.
What I'm saying to you guys, though, is it really is a cool thing to watch happen in real time.
Watch.
The fear of that building is something that a team that hasn't been this deep can feel a little extra. I mean, Haliburton doesn't have a whole lot of reason to be scared of these moments, Stugotz, because
he's had many of them.
It's just if he's that good in the clutch, my guess is if confidence and successes stacked atop each other, you don't go from a 2 to a 3 to immediately a choke sign unless you're super confident about what you do for a living.
Well, Dan, his exploits are very well publicized at this point from this postseason alone. Everyone knows this is what this guy does. So now it's like the mythology built for him. But I want to ask a question to the room. I submit to you, there is no greater sound in the world of sports than hearing shocked Madison Square Garden. That sound, there's no other arena, there's no other team where it happens where catastrophe is hit and it's just like,
Shocked Toronto Maple Leafs fans was nice.
No, they left.
Yeah.
The Garden doesn't leave. They sit there and they sit in that shock, and that's what makes it different.
It's not just that they sit in the shock. They then immediately realize, I hope. I shouldn't hope.
I had feelings.
I don't want. I stayed because I hope, and I shouldn't hope because they always betray my hope because they're the Knicks. And I do ask you. I ask the audience: do you believe that the clutchiest of clutch players can feel that fan base, which he has allowed to dare to hope, Stugotz, they believe in him. They believe in him late.
Yes.
That's the great thing to have in sports. That's having Mahomes. That's having Tom Brady.
You have the closer.
You have the guy that finishes people. But what happens when they've got the better finisher? and he's not the better player. Haliburton.
He's not. He's a better finisher. He might be a better player, but for right now, he's a better, I guess he's a
Brunson
better
won
finisher.
clutchest player in the league.
Yeah, Brunson.
He had 43.
We're killing him right now.
Well, at the end of the game, though, look.
He had 7 turnovers.
Wait a
He was
minute.
bad. He should have had 12.
Hold on a second. Okay, look. Yes, of course, Brunson is great story, all of that stuff. And you know that I prefer most times to celebrate instead of criticize. I'm telling you right now, I'm actively hating while watching sports. That's not something I do. I was rooting only for Boston's fan base to suffer. I thought that Boston had a better chance and did have a better chance to win the championship than this Knicks team does. And so I figured that I would root for Boston to lose first and then root for New York to lose next.
It's like winning a title.
I'm going to put up banners. I'm going to put up banners.
Have a parade.
Of just sad faces.
Dan, if you want me to be honest, this is like Heat haters are down bad this postseason, right? Boston fans, gone. New York going through this, and then if Indiana goes next and they get beat by, sweep or gentleman's sweep, all of a sudden all these Heat fans are like,
Then we stop caring.
we did it, baby.
This is not the way to watch sports, I don't think, but I enjoyed
hater?
it too much.
It's a great way to watch sports.
So
Every night. Every night you're a winner, one way or another.
Yep.
So, but when I say though that I don't like to blame, and you say we're killing Brunson today when he goes for an efficient 42,
43.
but what I'm saying is simply when faced with what will go down as one of the most historic chokes in the history of all of sports, and may not be the most historic choke in the rivalry simply between these two teams.
Or last night, the Oilers.
I don't know if this is a bigger choke than Reggie Miller's choke. Statistically, it's a bigger choke. It's even more improbable than Reggie Miller's making.
There is no bigger choke in the history of the sport.
worst-
What's a bigger choke? Especially like maybe there's a bigger one in the regular season where a team got caught napping in a meaningless game. Maybe there's something like that, but. Look at the odds. Statistically, this is the first time this has happened in the playoffs.
All right. Yes, but I submit to you 8 points in 9 seconds is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
that's
wild.
crazy.
Yes.
17 points in a matter of 2 minutes.
Yeah, but it
is
was
insane.
They
It
were
was a
down.
group effort.
They were down 9 with 51 seconds left.
What's the poll question then? Bigger choke, okay? 8 points in 9 seconds, or how do I phrase the next one to make it?
It's either down 17 with 2:40-something left, or it's down 9 with 44 seconds to go. What's the bigger choke? They choked twice in that game.
I think it's 9 with 40.
So do I.
The Bulls had a pretty crazy comeback this year against the Lakers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where like the win probability. I'm curious to see what the win probability was for the Lakers there.
What we're trying to balance here is like the size of the deficit and the time remaining. Right.
Yes.
And that's the real thing.
That's how it works, yes.
I think the Bulls was probably a little bit more impressive.
Let him finish, though. I like this. He's organizing
But
it. Go
by
ahead.
that formula, by that very obvious formula that Amin has laid out for us,
Thank you.
I think the Bulls over the Lakers was more impressive.
So we're claiming this is the biggest choke ever? We're coming in
While
here.
also
wait.
suggesting maybe Bulls Lakers in a meaningless regular season game was
Tracy-
probably bigger.
Tracy McGrady, 13 points in 30 seconds. I watched that game live, and I remember thinking, this game's over. And every time he kept making a shot, I was like, all right, come on. This is ridiculous. When that last turnover happened, I can't remember the little guard's name, Brown, I think. Brown slips and turns it over, and Tracy's bringing the ball up, and everyone was like, oh, my God, is this about to happen? Is this about to happen? It was Devin Brown. And then Tracy pulls up from like 30 feet, and then the shot goes in, and everyone loses their – oh, man, I might have to put that one above. I might have to put that one above last night.
I want to do analysis of greatest chokes ever. I also want to point out to Stugotz that I just saw on the television that when the Knicks were up 14 with 3 minutes and 44 seconds left, the win probability for them in that spot was 99.8%.
Pretty good.
I don't know which is the bigger choke, though, in the rivalry between these two teams. Like, are you guys telling me? You guys are telling me that you think years from now, in a game one, in an Eastern Conference Finals, that we're going to do a 30 for 30 and associate somewhat Haliburton like we associate Reggie Miller for all time with those 9 seconds?
Well, hold on. I just want to point out something because I'm looking at that same stat you just mentioned, 99.8% win probability with 3:44 left, up 14. That doesn't sound right. That sounds like a typo. That like 99.8% for a 14-point lead with almost 4 minutes to go? That can't be right.
How about the stat that they had under that?
Yeah.
There was a 5-minute span in which the Pacers scored 40 points. In 5 minutes, they outscored them 40 to 24.
What are we doing here?
No, that can't be right either.
Because
overtime was
No, they
5
added
minutes.
overtime. They would add overtime.
It said in 5 minutes, they outscored them 40 to 24.
I'm with him.
I mean, you think 99.8% is a very large percentage. You think it should be 99.9%?
You don't understand what I'm saying. I'm saying
Lower.
3:44 left, up 14. That number sounds completely erroneous.
It's too high, you're saying.
Way too high.
My bad.
Like Jim Irsay.
That's his power.
Too soon.
We're that show now.
Don't put that on us.
Just lack of class, those Le Batard guys.
Magazines. Slayed the pandemic. Traveling again. Big bird up. But something's different. I look in the seat pocket in front of me, and all I see is that cardboard pamphlet about the plane that nobody reads, the drink menu nobody needs, and the barf bag. Where's my in-flight magazine? Where did it go? Joni was right. Don't it always seem to go? You don't know what you got till it's gone. They paved paradise, put up a parking lot, and then stole my in-flight magazine. These staples of Americana predated even Greg Cody. Pan Am Airways published the first IFM in 1940. Now the high-flying mags are disappearing like donuts in a press box. Southwest Rag, augustly called simply The Magazine, is gone now. Delta Sky, gone. American Way, gone. Retired after 55 years. Alaska and Emirates Airlines, too, gone. Airline magazines falling from the sky one by one. Some others, like United Hemispheres, are now digital only. Blame the pandemic. COVID killed the in-flight magazine, or rather gave airlines an excuse to make a cutback like businesses did with remote meetings where the office buildings used to be. But more than that is to blame. The digital era stampeded the helpless handheld mag. In-flight entertainment and mobile browsing happened. Airlines have even claimed noble reasons for discontinuing their magazines, like how removing all of them makes planes lighter, which saves on fuel. Sounds like malarkey. Hurtling cabins once were full of rattling newspaper pages held wide. Then those disappeared, and then I was the last flyer still leafing through an in-flight magazine while everybody else was softly chuckling at a movie or listening to music with earbuds. I miss every bit of the airline magazine, the greeting from the airline president, the Penn and Teller at the Rio ad, the dating and hair restoration ads, and the one inviting me to invest in a home care franchise, things to do in Minneapolis, the list of top 10 steakhouses and America's best plastic surgeons, the crossword puzzle inevitably half-finished and poorly by a previous seat occupant. Oh, and the feature story on Southwest Customer Service Agent of the Month. You can't get that anywhere else. Most of all, I miss, anybody else remember Sky Mall? Oh, my gosh. It was Amazon before Amazon, only at 30,000 feet. Talk about built-in marketing. Bored flyers stuck in a cabin for 3 hours slamming cocktails are liable to buy anything, which Sky Mall offered. I'll never forget the time, after 3 or 4 deep eddies, I accidentally bought a life-size Bigfoot garden gnome for $2,250. Airlines, I will gladly pay extra if the bag I check is a pound too heavy. I'll put up with your cancellations, and with a hot meal being replaced by a 1-ounce bag of pretzels. Just please, give me back my in-flight magazine. See, I never played that Sudoku puzzle, but I sure did like knowing it was there. I'm Greg Cody, and that's how it was back in my day.
The game has changed. Weed is legal now with Stugotz and Greg Cody.
I'll tell a story if it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
When I first took the first edible I ever took was in New York, and at the time I was breaking the law. Okay, so now you can feel good about telling your story. And the guy told me, "Hey, just eat half of this." And so I ate half, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I didn't feel anything. And he begged me just to eat half. And he did say on the front end it might take a while. But I was impatient.
Right.
Because when you smoke marijuana, you get instant gratification. And waiting an hour or two for something to kick in was not something I was familiar with.
Right.
So I ate another half, which became a full cookie. And 60 minutes later, I don't remember anything. I woke up the next morning on the floor in my wife's uncle's apartment because Abby had to throw me into a cab with her, and she took me home. And I was curled up in the fetal position, and I don't remember a thing after the second half of that cookie.
Wow.
This was last Wednesday. So, with that being said, feel free to share your story of you having 4 cookies in Colorado.
Yeah, I wolfed them down. It was 3 or 4. I didn't know
3
how.
or 4?
Yeah,
You don't ask?
Down.
You don't say, "Hey, person I'm purchasing this from, how fast should I do these?"
The guy at the thing, and it was one of those official things where they dress like pharmacists in there, and they sold me a vial of edible cookies, and it was in Colorado, so it's 100% legal. And my wife and I are getting ready to go to dinner. We popped open the thing. She had a nibble of one, and I ate, I think, probably 2 or 3, and it hit me by the time we got to that restaurant.
This episode is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
I just realized something in the frenzy of what was the first hour of our show and what was fueled by, I'm going to say, 20 years of New York hatred. I haven't seen this group of people quite this jolly in quite a while. Because some of these stats are so stupid, Stugotz. The Pacers had 23 points in the final 3 minutes and 14 seconds of regulation.
Jolly fans of teams no longer playing.
That's correct.
Yep.
That's correct. You really shouldn't be smug today. like
I feel good. I'm still alive.
I know. You say you feel good, but we haven't gotten a real emotion out of you in an hour. You've been all of a sudden you care about the Edmonton Oilers.
It was a great game. It was a great game. Overshadowed for obvious reasons. But that was great.
I don't want to be prisoner of the moment with the jolly, but I want to ask you if we're talking about biggest choke ever. And we're talking about the Pacers had 23 points in the final 3 minutes and 14 seconds of regulation. That's the most in the final 3 minutes and 14 seconds of regulation of a playoff game in the play-by-play era. So Carson Breber said ESPN's win probabilities here. And I want you to find out whether you've got it wrong or you're coming after all of ESPN analytics incorrectly. Because some people are now calling the Pacers the greatest comeback playoff team of all time because of what I'm about to read to you. They had a 99.7% probability of losing versus New York in Game 1, a 95.9% probability of losing versus Cleveland in Game 2, and a 97.9% probability of losing in Game 5 versus Milwaukee. So you're talking about a team for our times, right? Like a
this
team.
shit is so stupid. It's all made up.
Yeah,
99.8%. Now it's 99.3.
It's just Howie Schwab in the back saying that looks like a 99.7.
What are we doing with that?
But a similar thing to what you're saying is since 1997-98, teams are 4 and 1,649 when down by 7+ points with less than a minute to go in the fourth quarter and overtime in the playoffs.
Too many numbers.
Hold on. The Pacers, this playoffs, account for 3 of those 4 wins.
So this is where me and Jeremy ruin everything with our numbers because the group wants to just be jolly and hate and point out, hey, Brunson also had an air ball at the end. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Tired legs.
Hold
Tired
on.
legs.
Let me ask this question.
He was resting on the bench.
ESPN Analytics, get me this number. Is that the most number of air balls we've ever seen in a playoff game? Everybody was shooting air balls.
Yeah, Indiana
the
was.
The Pacers were shooting air balls. The Knicks were shooting air balls. Chalamet threw an air ball when he tried to tee up Haliburton there. Tee him up. Air ball.
Might be a record for a fourth quarter. Air balls.
There's so many air balls.
Everyone but Neesmith.
That dude was right on target.
Nothing but net.
Pew!
Can you take me through when we're talking about how people rise to big moments and if indeed Haliburton has more than a mindset, has a skill set that will kill you late? Give me the person that you would say would have the basketball instincts for all of the following to happen when you talk about what a point guard needs to be. Gets the ball at 7.2 seconds left, has to go the length of the court has been in this situation. The matchup is Mitchell Robinson. You heard him wired up saying that guy crazy to go up against. Who has the mindset in those moments where you don't panic and you got to do something surgically concise to want to go floater, have floater lined up, Bridges hits the ball, so that's short-circuiting whatever you're thinking, and you immediately think, I'm going backwards now, see if I could kill him with a 3. Take me through the non-thinking that has to happen in that moment because you're surrounded by people who are fearing you, you're a killer, and you're not scared of what this moment brings.
So let me start by saying, I think it was last year, might have been 2 years ago, I gave Tyrese Haliburton the nickname The Last Hope because the point guard position, as we grew up knowing it, is all but dead. It's an ancient religion that nobody practices anymore. And here comes Tyrese Haliburton, and he's a pure point guard, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get it twisted by the heroics and the big shots. He plays the game like the point guard position was originally thought of, which is someone who sets the table for everyone else. He did it last night. He's been doing it all year. And, it's really cool to see that get championed, after we've coming off an era where that position has been mostly a scorer. Now, to talk about that particular situation in play, there's a couple of guys I would think of. Steph Curry would be number 1 on that list of who would do something like that, retreat back to three-point line like that. It would be Steph Curry for sure. I think Damian Lillard probably would have pulled from deep. Before, not that he can't get to the rim, but in that situation, he's got the confidence and the skill set to say, I'm going to just take it from right here. I think De'Aaron Fox might have tried. I don't know if he would have been successful. John Morant probably would not have retreated because he's not as strong a three-point shooter. So it's not as rare, Dan. I thought it was more interesting that the Pacers, their after timeout play was, even though we're advancing the ball into the front court, we're running almost like an arena football league kind of style set where everyone's in the backcourt, and now we're running up. And obviously they've got 5 guys out there who could shoot the 3, including Miles Turner, so that adds a complication. I think it's like a combination of Rick Carlisle, great play calling, and Tyrese Haliburton, great recognition of what's happening on the floor.
Can we ease up on Haliburton? Because he doesn't have that opportunity unless Neesmith carries them back into the game.
No, we can't.
It wasn't Haliburton that got him back into the
No.
game.
No.
It was an ancillary player who got them back into the game. Like, can we ease up on And, by the way, he didn't step back far enough. It would have been the most embarrassing moment in NBA history had they lost that game.
Shit take.
I love Stugotz because we are one segment
Enough.
removed from him saying he's better than Damian Lillard.
What
ever
are you
was.
doing? Can we ease up on
Careening?
Haliburton?
Yeah.
Of all the days. No, we cannot.
Playing both sides.
How's this for numbers? Because I know that people don't
numbers?
like numbers. How about this one, though? How about just this one? Chris?
All the numbers seem to be 99.8.
Yes.
Okay, the odds of winning all 3 of those games that I gave you those win probabilities on are 1 in 387,147. You don't care? You don't want
Millions.
A lot
No,
of
it's
numbers,
just,
though. So many numbers.
it's so many
Lots of numbers,
numbers.
too many
Jeremy said like
said
15,000 numbers. in that tweet.
Gagillion.
I think it's more than like 1 in 290,000.
Thank you, Howie Schwab.
I like Mike's theory that all of these numbers from ESPN Analytics
It's just a guy named Elias.
is sitting in the back.
Yeah.
Hispanic guy, Dan? Elias.
Eating Doritos.
That's my dad's That's how I read it.
Everybody thought it was this big, firm. No, it's just a dude named Elias.
Feels about 98.5, 98.6.
Oh, I remember when the Brewers a comeback. Let's put that up there.
I'd like to continue the beef between Amin and Elias, the Elias Sports Bureau. I remember I used to use them in about 1997. They were so progressive. You'd pick up a phone and you'd call somebody, and they would have the original computer there in
They would
front
call
of
you
it.
back.
What do you
They'd have to
mean?
get
You
back
would
to
call?
Yes, you'd call.
They'd have to call you back.
We did that when we were on ESPN. Dan would ask one of those crazy questions that it was impossible to find an answer to, and I would just dial up a landline. Hello, Elias?
So somebody would be there on the other side and
Yes.
be like, hey, I need to know
Yes.
when Haliburton
Research it.
shoots for 3, but with 3 seconds left, what's his percentage if he does this, X, Y, and Z? And then all right, I'll call you back.
And then it would take 48 minutes for them to get back to you, and then I just learned code on Basketball Reference. I was good.
That's the most important part, Tony, is that they would call you back, but always after you needed it. I need
I'm
this
live
before
on
the
the
show.
air. I kinda
I'm on
need to
deadline.
know.
They would always call you back afterwards, never
This is
mind.
next, say, have that answer for you. Thanks.
Buddy, I got it.
I like Tony's way better, though, that you're calling and somebody's like at a oye.
Elia! Shuffles over. Dime! We need Halliburton's 3-pointers. What? And he goes, he's thinking, 99%.
Noises in the background.
Yeah. The thing about this, though, that I ask you, Stugotz, because I see that now Chris Cody, a descendant of his father, you, Tony, you're doing this thing now where you're saying, I don't want numbers. I don't ruin the game with math, and everyone's doing it, and it is a ruiner. Sports are better enjoyed the way that you're doing it, jolly and ignorant.
Ignorant. I just don't last night what had happened is rare. That's good.
Right. That's it. It's enough.
That
Never
covers
seen it before. Right.
It's just 1 in 782,000 chances of that happening. It's just I get it. Shocking.
It doesn't
Rare.
happen often. We got it.
Well, you guys said biggest choke ever. So if
It's the 3rd biggest choke ever, statistically.
No one likes you at a party, man. Get out.
I like this character.
You're not getting invited back to the party, pal. You brought chips. Leave.
You brought Jeremy in that vest. What is he doing?
Yeah.
Doug Funny over
Oh,
there.
I was talking to the smart guy. Smart guy.
Mike walked in today and earnestly said to Jeremy, "Are you doing a grid of death punishment? What's going on here?"
because he went vest in as summer approaches in
Got his
Miami.
balls outside, Dan.
Yeah.
Sweater vest over a white tee.
What's up, 1997 Gap commercial?
Hey, man, the late 90s are back.
Jumping, driving.
You really gotta jump down, and you really gotta jump down, and you will to see.
I think you guys have it right. I think the better way to experience all of that is just let the hate fill your heart and just be happy about it. And don't tell me how rare it is precisely to the decimal point. Just let me
We got it.
Let me just shake my hips and laugh at New York.
Is there a better hate watch?
No.
What?
There will never be a better hate watch.
What's a hypothetical hate watch for us down here?
Numbers get in the way. If I told you the Panthers, the way that they iced Game 7 last year against the Oilers, it actually wasn't that long. Historically speaking, it was the 27th longest way to freeze a puck. No! That took forever. They were there. They were in that corner for 17 minutes.
Mikola.
Does anyone feel more relieved today than Karl Anthony Towns? Because he missed the free throw too, but no one's talking about it. They're just talking about OG Anunoby.
You got him feeling relieved this morning. I don't think anybody wearing that uniform is like, wow,
what a good morning.
Easy day for me.
I think he looked at his stats and he was like, I did a good job.
A little bit. He's like, because people going to look back and say, well, he had 35 or whatever it was, or 35 and 10.
I think the person that's most relieved is honestly Haliburton.
Probably, yeah.
Because
that would have been embarrassing.
They were down 4 in overtime.
Right.
And it looked like he was going to be a punchline for all time.
What about John Haliburton? Because he was dancing and doing a choke sign in the club.
Watching hockey.
What if they had lost? That's what he's doing the choke sign for, right? Yeah. For the Oilers. What if they had lost that game?
That would become a meme forever.
Yes.
Like when someone thinks they have a result in the bag, they would just put Haliburton doing that. It wouldn't be the Knicks choking. It would be him literally choking.
Funny thing is, they have ESPN on behind him. That's what channel the hockey game was on last night. I think he is talking about them.
I mean, do you think the series is over? Like, did the Pacers win the series last night? Because I think the Knicks are going to come back and win this series.
Pacers in one. No, I don't know. Yeah, it's like we always say.
No, but a lot of people are assuming Pacers. Hey, like you can't lose that game at home. It's game one. You have home court. That the Pacers won the series last night.
I think before the game last night, it was already a coin toss for me. I think these are two good teams that have guys that are transcendent and have type of defensive players that you need in order to win these type of series. They lost game one, the Knicks did. I don't think that ends their season. They can come back, and all they got to do is win one in Indiana. It's the same thing I told Dan when the Thunder lost game one to the Nuggets, and Dan was like, oh, my God. And I said, Dan, all they got to do is win one in Denver, and that's it. Like, we're back to square one.
Hopes for this series were sky high entering it because it had all the makings. You have two teams. Remember how the Pacers choked away last year's Eastern Conference Finals? They were losing games the way that the Knicks lost last night. It was insane the way that Rick Carlisle found ways to lose against Boston last year. You have two teams that are really good at coming back, have displayed that this postseason. You also have two teams, to be quite frank, they're not that good. From what we've seen out of championship-level teams that make it to the NBA Finals is a very new NBA. So both these teams got to kind of learn how to win on the fly. So I think it's going to be a long series. It's probably going to get crazier.
If you take the name off the Indiana Pacers and you look at the stats that they've done since January, like you said, Dan, that's a team that you could say that team wins the title very easily.
I don't think anybody's beating OKC, but I would like to see it. I'd also like to point out that some people are saying that Jeremy looks like an inner city substitute teacher who's in over his head.
Yeah,
Nick Freeman.
It's accurate. Man, when I left the house this morning, I really thought I looked great. I really did. I felt really confident.
This is from Ramona Shelburne after saying multiple times that.
Oh man, I thought she was going to roast Jeremy.
This is from Ramona Shelburne.
Like a personal text.
Jeremy looks like he's on the back nine.
The biggest disappointment of my life. I was so excited.
Look, guys, I'm invested in my fashion.
She texted you information? I mean.
After saying multiple times she's talking to Rick Carlisle, and Rick Carlisle has been very careful to say of the Knicks fan base that Haliburton's choke gesture wasn't a big deal because he says he doesn't want to rile up the Knicks fan base. And so now he's shrugging and saying Tyrese has earned the right to do whatever he wants. That starch stiff Rick Carlisle saying that.
I mean, he did. I watched his press conference. Every time they asked him about it, he's like, look, guys, I'm not even getting into the historical element of that. Like, this fan base is pretty engaged as it is, and we have nothing but the utmost respect, and da-da-da. And then later on, someone asked him, like, how did you feel about Tyrese doing the choke symbol? And he's like, oh, Tyrese earned the right to do whatever he wants. And we're like, oh, it's a little contradictory there.
If he wins the title, we got to have a conversation about old Rick Carlisle.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah.
He was. Remember when they won? Everyone's like, "This guy's the best coach in the league." And then over time, he was like, "This guy's an idiot." And now he's back to, "Oh my God, he might be the best coach in the league."
Whose voice was that?
That's the guy that doesn't believe in Rick Carlisle.
Yeah. Let me talk more to him.
Oh, hey, how's it going, Dan?
Why don't you believe in him?
He's got all those years when you remember he got into it with Rajon Rondo. What was that about? And then they're like him and Luka, they didn't really get along and all that. But now it's like it's cool again.
Don't forget how the Mavs made it to the finals without him.
Yeah.
Well, who's that guy?
That's also that same
my
guy.
buddy.
Same guy, yeah.
That's my buddy.
Yeah. We're at the bar together. We're at the bar together.
We're in a group chat together also.
Yeah.
We talk about other things too, not just Rick Carlisle.
Did you see that Korean warship?
Oh, Oh, my God. What was that about?
What's going on?
Oh, my God. Aren't you guys worried?
Just fell.
I think it's the Wi-Fi. 5G.
Jason Benetti is our favorite play-by-play announcer now in any sport. He's climbing up the rankings way too quickly.
More than witty.
Uncomfortably. Yeah, more than witty. He's more charming, more likable, less stubborn than witty. Witty coming on here, having
Gross.
an all-time. Look, let me just rewind for a second. As if it weren't bad enough that he said that Giannis Antetokounmpo was the league's best number 2. We didn't even talk about the fact that made Chris Middleton the number 1.
Right.
Just like we left that part totally out, and then he doubles down on the take. Benetti knows how to be likable. This is one of his chief traits, and one of the reasons that he's so likable around here is the impressions. I mean, your impressions pale compared to this man's impressions.
I disagree.
Okay.
And I also think Rick Carlisle's a bum.
Cosign.
Try that impression, Benetti. I mean,
Yes, hey, Benetti, can you do a Pacers fan who's always got something bad to say about Rick Carlisle as an impersonation? Bet you don't have that one in your holster, Benetti.
No, I can do it as a Chicago person who doesn't like Rick Carlisle, but the Indiana accent is lost on me.
Well, it was lost on me, too. I don't think that there was much.
I never said I was from Indiana. I just said I don't like Rick Carlisle.
Just a guy.
Until he wins
Just a
again.
guy.
And I still don't like him either.
But if he wins again,
As well.
he might be the best coach ever. You know?
In addition to.
I'll take it Chicago style. I mean, I will, Benetti.
Yeah, but I don't think Benetti's got a whole lot of opinions on Rick Carlisle, but perhaps you're a sports lover. Perhaps, why don't you give us some not prisoner of the moment takes in the first hour and 20 minutes of today, because we are fueled by New York hate. Stugotz has said that Tyrese Haliburton is better than Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
We have identified last night's choke as the greatest choke in the history of all chokes. And I think we've also said that tops the Reggie Miller 8 points in 9 seconds choke, because I was arguing I still don't know if last night's choke is the biggest in the history between these two teams. So even though you're a baseball announcer, do you have any opinions on any of these things?
I think that Carlisle guy, he's got to play Haliburton more. Why doesn't he play Haliburton? That guy, he got all those defense contracts. What's he doing? I don't understand. You gotta, like, if you're in New York, I hate the Knicks, okay? I hate the Knicks because of Anthony Mason and all those guys, but you gotta play Haliburton more.
Did you see that North Korean warship fall into the ocean?
You gotta use the voice. Hold on, what are you doing?
Better.
Korean warship. What's up with that?
It's embarrassing.
Did you fall out of character? Did you?
He did.
You delivered news as yourself instead of?
I'm still workshopping it, all right?
Okay.
I don't know. I don't get this guy sometimes.
Yeah.
He acts like this in a group chat too.
I'm sorry.
Stugotz, you were talking the other day about missing when an NBA coach looked like an NBA coach in the days of Cotton Fitzsimmons.
Yeah.
You'll be happy to know that Bruce Bochy is still a manager in the big leagues. You'll be. Do you want to guess who the manager of the Twins is? It's a name that will delight you.
Ooh, the Twins, the
Buck Showalter.
Twinkies.
It's still Gardenhire?
Ron Gardenhire?
It's always been
Is
Gardy.
it? Yeah.
Go ahead. You can help them here if you'd like. Look at how
not
disgusted
Gardy, huh?
Benetti is disgusted with them right there. There's very little baseball knowledge in this room, and it's offensive. But when you say the name, it will delight Stugotz, I assure you, Benetti.
It's the Woonsocket Rocket himself, Rocco Baldelli.
Wow.
What a time.
I had no idea.
The Twins are good. The Tigers are good. Benetti, your Tigers are good.
The Tigers are really good. They're really fun. And honestly, they just went to St. Louis and had all the business in the world to lose 2 of 3 or 3 of 3. They had a bullpen game yesterday. They got blown out in game 1 of the series, and they won the last 2 games of the series. They're like they really are like a TED Talk waiting to happen, because they use the whole roster more than most teams in Major League Baseball. They use the bench basically every day. Like, get your red pen out. There was a game last week against the Red Sox that the 2 guys that were involved in the game-winning run didn't even start, and it was extra innings. It is honestly really, really fun to watch.
So
and by the way, the Bruce Bochy comment, if you listen, I just had a Rangers game recently. Listen to Bruce Bochy and the actor Sam Elliott. they are 100% voice sound-alikes.
It is great. You're not kidding. Yeah, Bochy's got this low rumble that, what is it? It just gives off Southland, something deep, deep in Texas. I don't know what it is, but it's a rumble from another time.
Yeah, no, he's I listened to that Wichita Lineman song, and there's a lot in there that makes sense to me, but I work with my hands more than that, sort of thing.
How does he feel about Rick Carlisle?
Yeah, look, do you think Rick Carlisle's good or not?
They've been around as long.
It's a big thing for us.
Is that Scooby-Doo?
Man, I don't know. I'm still trying to find the
Keep
voice.
working on it. It's look, Amin tried to work the other day.
Tag me in.
Amin was trying to do comedy the other day for Andrew Santino, and now the two of you are trying to do impersonations.
I wasn't trying to do comedy for Andrew Santino. I was doing a paid read that I had to do for the show. Oh, they didn't know it was sponsored?
Whoa.
When it said Weekend Observations are brought to you by? You thought that was just part of the bit?
Paid? Why are you lashing out at the paid read for?
Because you called it comedy for Andrew Santino, and that's not what it was.
Look, what happened was you were doing.
You don't know what you're talking about, Dan Le Batard.
Odd argument.
You and Rick Carlisle both don't know what you're talking about. What did Benetti talk about it?
Let's not forget he lost the NBA Cup.
He did. Okay.
Benetti, before you came on with us, we were talking. They were making fun of me and Jeremy correctly because we were just talking a lot about numbers. And I know baseball is inundated with the advanced metrics. I know you've had to evolve as a broadcaster and get better at doing all the measurements. But I can also feel like I say to you, it's kind of ruining the sport even as you get more information about the sport, is it not? Or do you enjoy the numbers so much that it can't do it for you? I'm not just talking about this sport. I'm talking about just the hedge funding in general of numbers all over sports, so that it just kind of ruins fun.
So I agree that like you play Monopoly enough times and everybody knows all the strategy. And I think that's where baseball actually it's shocking to say that baseball has been on the front end of something, but they have been with the rule changes, because I think you see a lot more stolen bases now in baseball because of those rules. But I think what it is more than just like fun being gone because of the numbers. I think it's once you size up a game so well, you just kind of know how it plays. And at that point, you then like have your house rules of Monopoly, where if you land on free parking, you get the money, or like you have to go around once before you can buy properties. Like you just have to change the rules. And I think like that's what's coming probably in all sports, because we have so much information now and teams are able to go ahead and try to like quote unquote optimize, right? Like then you have to change the rules. You have to do something that makes it different and then make them spend years re-optimizing. I think it's rather than say, I want it back to what it used to be, I think we probably need to say these leagues have to push to make the rules different so we can see a different game and watch 30 teams scramble to get their numbers in order.
Mike, what are you and Tony making fun of me about?
Well, because you've been on a number kick lately, and I think yesterday you invoked when talking about, 2 days ago when talking about baseball, hedge fund analytics, and we just
mathematics
all kind of took it like, what are you talking about?
Are you guys not aware that hedge funds and private equity are bleeding America dry?
Yeah, but I don't know what they have to do with analytics in baseball. Again, that was also out of left field.
That you get so
bleeding America.
Let's just keep it to sports.
We're like, come on, man.
Stick to sports, Le Batard.
What are you talking about?
Look,
man?
guys, Dan's just looking for the best of the best. Oh,
Shut
sorry,
up.
Best. My bad. You guys have me right.
It was on purpose. That's a high stick.
That's a high stick.
We've established
with blood.
How bad was that?
Doug, unfunny.
Get out of here, Jeremy.
Blind dog.
That's your teammate.
Wait, we eject people?
Major penalty, 5 minutes, grooming comedy.
We give the penalties, yeah.
Doug unfunny is great.
I love that we eject people from the television program.
I mean, that was so impossibly lame what he just did there.
I didn't like it either.
It's like he doesn't understand how to do self-deprecation. He thinks too highly of himself to do it well.
He's wearing a vest, Dan.
So is it insincere, you think? or like he just doesn't know. It's like an instruction manual in a different language.
Yes, when
But Nettie hates Jeremy Taché too. He's met him for like 3 minutes.
Spot on.
But the reason I brought up the question is something that you're delighting in, right? Which is the evolution of the game that makes it so that it's not Mike Mordecai on your bench anymore. It's you've got the Tigers have 25 players. They're going to rest them. The 162 game schedule is insane, and they figured out how to exploit market inefficiencies. But you're saying that this is fun for you, and I'm saying it's probably less fun when a line drive over second base is caught by the second baseman because he's got a card in his pocket that tells him exactly where to play.
Yeah, the fun for me is being with a team. I love what's on the screen right now. Is that there was a game show on Nickelodeon called Finders Keepers, where the kids would have to go up to the screen with little like sticky notes, and they'd be like, "Find the frying pan," and they'd have to put the picture of the frying pan up on the thing, the cartoon thing. That looks like what we're playing right now.
He didn't answer Dan's question.
No, I'll answer the question. I actually, by the way, I'm having trouble hearing you. Honestly, truly, like my audio is a little low, so if I missed something, that's why. But what I would say is there it is, Finders Keepers. Yes, let's go. How did you find that quickly? I guess because you kept it? I don't know. But the idea being you have like super guys on the bench who can do specific things. Like there's a right-handed bat on the Tigers bench who just mashes left-handed pitching. That's what he's there for. You pull the trigger on him in the 6th inning. And by the way, I don't know that people do this enough in Major League Baseball, but when you have a guy on the bench that you know can hit a certain reliever that you think might be able to is likely to come in the game, you can choose that guy to face that pitcher. So there actually is something to pinch hitting. Everybody's like, well, you're right out the lineup. In baseball, you never really know exactly what's going to happen. And whether you get that at bat or not, that's up to the baseball gods. Now, when you pinch hit, you're like, that's the guy. This is what's going to happen. I don't know why I turned into Robbie Hummel there for a second. That's his deal. That's what they do.
Keep cooking.
He goes over his right shoulder. I don't know what's going on here. But I do that sometimes, so I apologize.
What else do you have for us? Do you have any impersonations that you've been working on? Do you want us to take some guesses? Do you have anything that you've added to your repertoire? This is putting a lot of pressure on you, but you do seem to enjoy this playground more than most.
I love that it's a playground. It is officially a playground because of that cartoon mural you got going on there. I used to do a Jim Rome impression from back in the day. I don't know if I could do it anymore.
Please,
do we like Jim Rome impressions?
God,
Do we like Jim Rome?
He invented this thing.
Very exciting. This is very exciting. When's the last time you broke out your Jim Rome?
A couple years ago on a White Sox team charter. The hook of it, I was driving around San Diego as a kid, and I don't know why I remember this, but he had Oakland Athletics pitcher Barry Zito as a guest, and he just kept talking about how Barry Zito was a musician. So the hook for me has always been a player and an instrument. So he'd be like, "This is the Premier Radio Network. Barry Zito's here with his guitar, Mike Lieberthal and his flute at 4:45. Terrible take. Actually, re-rack it. You can re-rack it."
Who did you grow up listening to? Like who did Jim Rome? Was his effect something that hypnotized a young Benetti?
We were on a vacation in San Diego, and there's this guy who's just talking about a bunch of major league players and their band, evidently, and it was sort of mesmerizing to me. So, it was always that hook. But like I grew up listening to Hawk Harrelson. We know Hawk Harrelson, right? I followed him as the White Sox play-by-play announcer. And one of my favorite Hawkisms, I used to like run around 4th grade doing Hawk Harrelson impressions. But I used to always like how dejected he got when he would be like, "Stay fair." It won't. That's wrong shit. It was like the elation. There's like this super elation, and then my goldfish died. Like, "Stay fair." It won't. Right size, wrong shape.
Do you have a favorite radio broadcast?
in Major League Baseball?
Yes, like a team.
So I love Pat Hughes from the Cubs and his always partner named Ron. Right, he had Ron Santo forever, and then they, just to make it easy for Pat, I feel like they went and got Ron Coomer. But Pat, because like us play-by-play announcers, we don't know everybody's
Are you
name.
saying
We
more
work with a lot of
qualified people did not get the
but
job because their name wasn't Ron?
There's a decent chance of that, if we're being honest. People came walking in the room, and Pat was like, "Well, my first question is your name Ron, Ronnie?" And they're like, "No, I'm Frank." And he's like, "Well, I'll be calling you Ron. The Cubs are wearing the white trousers."
Jason, can you do an impression of the Chicago Pope for us, please?
Ooh. I seriously could not hear that. My audio has been low. Can you just yell that like an Indiana fan for me, please?
Can you do an impression of the Chicago Pope, please?
I was doing the pontiff things, and I was listening to the White Sox a couple years ago, and I was like, this guy, he laughs a little too much, honestly. The new Pope, by the way, lived at one point like 4 blocks away from where I grew up. So the text thread of my high school friends devolved from like, he ate pizza at Aurelio's to, isn't it funny that the new Pope has an opinion about your work?
That is a good point, man. Right. That's crazy. Like the leader of the Catholic faith, man, over 1 billion people across the world listen to a man who's like, I don't know what this Benetti guy is doing calling this game, man.
Wait a minute. So do you think the Pope was a Jim Rome fan?
Ooh, of course.
White smoke. 4:45, possible black smoke later on. Jim Lampley is here Friday. Welcome to the jungle. This is the premier radio network.
Lampley.
One of the go-tos.
Yes.
Have you heard Frank Caliendo's Jim Rome? We will see if we can get some of that for Benetti, because I think that Caliendo's got the best Jim Rome that I've ever heard. I don't think that
Caliendo has the best everything. I don't ever want to do any impression that Frank Caliendo does, because it's like doing hockey the day after Doc Emmerich. Like you can't, like, that's why I pick all the esoteric ones. Like, I don't know that Caliendo does the Sports Center guy, but when you're, if he does, then I'm going to have to retire the Sports Center, brought to you by Applebee's.
Hold on. Let me rebut. Sports Center, brought to you by Coors Light.
Can't follow Benetti.
That's Harvey Firestein.
Yeah.
And also a less superior beer.
Yes.
Yeah, why'd you do that?
Same company.
You can keep that one,
It's
Benetti.
the same company.
I know, we're safe.
Are you guys really making fun of me, or is that simply invest?
When you see a girl you like, do you hear?
Yeah, in fact, I do. My wife.
Jason, through the season, the best moment you've seen so far?
The best moment is Javi Baez last Tuesday walk-off home run. Like, that dude was down for the count in so many ways, and then ended up becoming a hero again. He's hit the ball really well. That's specific to the Tigers. The best moment of the season might actually have been the other day in that Mets-Red Sox game, though, when Walker Buehler and Mike Estabrook, pitcher and umpires, started to do one of those like saloon doors swaying in the breeze Wild West standoffs, walking toward each other from the mound and the plate.
Baseball announcers like to flower up some westerns there when it was just like it's not quite all of that, Benetti.
Me and Mike are arguing back here because we were in Mexico with Cuervo doing our thing over there, and there was a bathroom in the hotel that had saloon doors, and me and Mike came away with 2 different opinions on saloon doors.
They're useless. They're terrible. Who installs saloon doors? What do you don't get privacy. They don't swing the way that they do in the movies. They always ricochet right back.
He wasn't doing it right.
Clip
That's
your
why.
arm. It's not even, you don't get the cool effect or anything like that. It's not the way that it works. in real life.
gotta-
It just sucks.
You got to step through, and then they swing behind
No,
you.
you got
and
to
then
hold
you,
it open.
and then
What
you
if someone's
survey.
walking behind you? What if someone's walking
No,
behind you?
you got to beeline it.
You don't
Derrick
worry
Henry.
about it. You step
Terrible.
through with a
Terrible.
flurry. That's what you do.
Most
Yes.
impractical door.
It's great. Dan,
Worse
I
than a
bulldozed
curtain.
it.
I love it.
Poof, ripped
Worse
it open.
than a
Might have
curtain.
hit somebody on the way.
Hate
in.
saloon doors.
Also, they're not there for privacy. They're there to look cool, dude.
Yes.
Do you want to look cool? Or do you want to be private?
I guess they do sort of look cool, and then you have to actually use one.
Walk through, and then you walk and you survey the whole
You don't
room.
just walk through.
What's
They
going
never
on.
work that way. They never work that way.
Walk with purpose.
Sounds like the Wild Wild Vest in here.
Mm-hmm.
God damn him.
It feels a little bit like saloon doors are the biggest villain on this show for weeks.
No,
What-
it's Jeremy Taché.
Yeah, no doubt.
Put it on the
Get him
poll,
outta here.
please, at Le Batard Show. He can't leave fast enough. I don't even have enough buttons for what it is that he's doing.
Just
I
click
don't-
one of them, Dan, for God's sake.
See ya.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes. High sticking.
Mind the gap.
Jason,
We need to have an ejection animation. We need to have somebody just
He's right.
that.
Yeah.
yeah, how about just a vaudevillian cane of some sort, something because we can't get anything modern around here. So why don't we go 1950s? He should be yanked out of here with a giant cane. By the vest, you just put it in, you insert it in the vest, and yank him right out of here. Jason, nice seeing you. Always nice seeing you. Thank you for making the time, sir.
Thank you, guys. I hope this marital dispute works itself out.
To be fair to Greg, this has not exactly been, the most up and up thing to talk about for 60 years of his life.
Right, exactly.
This is a fairly recent phenomenon. We just go, oh, yeah, everything's fine now.
No, and I don't, we did that because we were vacationing in Colorado, and I wanted to
Stop giving qualifiers.
I have to give a
Greg,
qualifier.
Greg, more qualifiers.
It feels better when you're doing it legally. It
Right,
does.
I'm
I
gonna.
understand.
I don't smoke anymore. I mean, I don't do that. I did in
Totally
college.
lying, trying to make them feel better. I mean,
Thank you. Thanks for that.
getting away with it was much more fun. I mean, seriously.
I had my day doing that. So
We used to get dime bags at a place in Hillside, Queens. It was called the Tie Door. Oh, was it fantastic? You never saw the guy. You just saw his hand. You would see his
Like
hand.
a first touch in a marriage?
Yeah, you would open up this little sliding door in Hillside, Queens. You would see his hand. He would see your hand. You'd never see each other. He'd put weed in your hand. You would put money in his hand, and that was it. That was a transaction. It was great. Called the
And
Tie
about
Door.
Weed first, then money?
Money first.
Oh, there you
Well,
go.
it was like you would do it at the same time, but occasionally.
So you'd see both hands.
Yes, correct.
Once every 6 months, you'd hear stories of like some guy sticking his hand and then getting arrested on the spot. The cuffs right on the wrist. That's all you see, the wrist, and then.
I always wondered, is today going to be the day? Because I went every day. And it wasn't far from my house. But is today the day that it's going to be a cop on the other side of that door? I did. I feared that every single day. But it didn't stop me from going out there every single day. Hop, skip, and a jump.
Is that fear worth it?
Yes. The fear is what made it. Greg's right. Now you walk in, they're dressed like they're experts,
Right.
pharmacists.
Yeah.
It made me a little nervous. I mean, more nervous than meeting a guy at a tie door, never seeing him, just exchanging things in our hands.
That's right.
I mean, what happened to you after eating 3 or 4? Like, can you?
Back to you.
Yeah.
we went to a restaurant and spent $300 on appetizers, and
Hell yeah.
And I remember, I'm not a fast talker. If anything, I'm a slow, deliberate talker who says a lot of ums and ahs.
Right.
My wife at that restaurant accused me of speed talking, of talking faster than I ever had in my entire life, which I wasn't even conscious of. So yeah, it hit me very hard.
All right.
Enjoyable though. I have no idea what I ordered for my main course.
3 or 4 though, man.
Yeah.
Are you sure you didn't do cocaine?
No, they were edible.
I've never had
cookies.
someone really high and be like, "This, you shut up, dude."
I know. Believe me, that was new to me too. Because normally you're talking like a 1970s, rock DJ.
Or is it possible that life had slowed down so much for your wife that by
It seemed like you were
you were
Right.
talking normally, but to her you were talking at an incredibly fast rate of speed?
That's possible. That's a possibility.
Oh my God.
Did the waiter walk up and you're like, "I ate edibles," because you're just like terrified?
No. Believe me,
It's legal here. I'm on vacation.
Believe me, I'm sure he sensed it. Working in that state and seeing somebody in that state, I'm sure he sensed something.
How much was the bill that night?
Oh gosh, I think we ordered a nice bottle of wine, which always jacks it up. So I think it was like a $400 bill.
I mean, you were hammered.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
4 cookies and a
Yeah.
bottle of wine.
Oh my gosh.
Probably like
Jesus
7
Christ.
Miller Lights.
Right. Exactly. And that was at the restaurant. But seriously, no, it was a nice time. I love Colorado. I really do.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the whole the scenery, the vibe of it.
Mhm.
We went to the Red Rocks Amphitheater just to walk around because it's such a stunning venue. It's a tourist attraction in and of itself. So.
Red Rocks is my favorite venue
Yeah.
of all time.
It's
of all the places I've seen the Dead, that and Shoreline Amphitheater.
Supposedly, it's one of the great venues. All the musicians rave about it, like the acoustics and the background and the seating arrangement. It's just beautiful. I would love to see somebody perform there. I never have.
Mike loves music. Have you ever been to Red Rocks?
I have not.
I would highly suggest that you get out there at least once in your life.
Yeah, I'm getting
It's
to
worth it.
Yeah.
Just waiting for the right show.
Everyone wants a service dog with Steve-O.
We are joined by a very famous persona from America, and also Steve-O, because Wendy from Peru is an internet sensation. Go ahead and tell the story, Steve-O, before we get in here. And always thank you for making time for us. But tell us why it is that your dog is more famous than you are, because I didn't think it was allowed that you can just find a dog on the streets of Peru, fall in love with it, and then just bring it over to America. I thought, didn't Johnny Depp or somebody get in trouble for trying to bring an animal into the country without the proper permission? Like,
Well, that was the other way around. He already had the dog and was trying to smuggle it into Australia. I was in Peru for a mountain climbing expedition, and I found Wendy here on the streets. And fortunately, the mountain climbing expedition was a TV show, and the production jumped through all the hoops for me. So I really didn't have to do anything, and I was able to bring Wendy home. And the video I made about finding her, it garnered over 100 million views on Facebook, making it the most viewed video I've ever put on the internet. And it's kind of devastating for an attention whore like me. I've with the lengths that I've gone to, But there it is, man. So Wendy and I, we are on a rock tour as we speak, barreling towards Syracuse for a show tonight, and we've got shows every single night in the Northeast U.S. For the next 12 days. Albany tomorrow night.
This video is adorable. Is Wendy's a service animal?
She is. You bet she is. Yeah, because I have terrible issues.
You should take more dogs, though. I mean, it seems to be working for you.
I have terrible issues is a great sentence that would explain the last 25 years of your life. You've done great sort of capitalizing on, let me take a tour bus through my terrible issues.
Right. That's about right, man. I have terrible issues.
and she brings you genuine comfort she's not a professional service dog license, and you've got the proper paperwork. Steve-O is now a paperwork man with a legitimate service dog that he needs for comfort.
You know what? I'm gonna break your guy's heart right here. there's no such thing as official certification for a service animal.
Huh.
And because and I did the deepest dive, man. I found the best dog trainer on the planet, and they were the ones who told me, yeah, there's no such thing as official certification. We can sure train her, but that's never. I got a note from my doctor. I got some weird thing online that means nothing, which says certified service animal. But yeah, there's no such thing. You can ask a blind person with a seeing eye dog, and they'll tell you that there's no such thing.
More to the point.
So we make fun of. Yeah, we travel around and we make fun of service dog vests.
I just figure that you find genuine comfort here, and people might be surprised to learn that one of a man who has been so fearless in his life would admit to needing the love of a dog to temper his issues. That's real adult, grown-up introspection one of the Jackass guys is doing.
All right. I mean, hey, I'm happy to admit that for sure. And the federal law requires that a service animal be trained to assist somebody with a disability. Although the law does not require the person to explain what the disability is. Now, when you ask me what Wendy's trained to do, she is a mobility assist dog. And what that means is she gets me where I'm going because I'm not going anywhere without her.
Nice. That is I feel like I should owe the audience some apologies here for Amin's general disrespect of Jim Irsay and Stugotz not giving the people what they want today on the New York Knicks tiers. He's a very public Knicks fan, and all of a sudden he doesn't care about the Knicks anymore. We're 2 hours into the show, and people are here for your tiers, and you're not giving it to them. You're saying, have perspective, Knicks in 6.
Well, I have confidence in this team. They were down 20 twice against Boston. Tatum was healthy. They came back. They won both those games. They lost game 3 at home. They came back, and they bounced back in game 4, and they won that game. They're sitting here in the Eastern Conference Finals. Last night hurt. I'm not going to say it didn't hurt. Of course it hurt. I was broken last night, but having time to think about it and think about this Knicks team, it's game 1. They're not going to back down from the Pacers. They're a strong team. Brunson's probably the best player on the court every time he takes the court at this point. So I have confidence in the Knicks winning this series in 7 games. Yes.
Amin, what do you think of what he just said? Brunson's the best player on the court in this series.
I don't think that's out of the question, right? I mean, obviously Haliburton's great too, but I think Brunson has kind of proven that he's the real deal. They both are guys that are kind of underestimated by most people for different reasons. Brunson because he's short, Haliburton because he's annoying.
The annoying is a lot of fun, and this is also a lot of fun, Stugotz, because you're saying I'm soaking all of this with numbers, that me and Jeremy are annoying with all of the math. How about some fun? Would you like to hear a Korean broadcast celebrating the biggest collapse in New York Knicks history?
할리버튼 5초, 할리버튼 갑니다. 4초, 3초, 2점을 노리나요? 자, 반사하면서 할리버튼 쏩니다. 이게 뭐예요? 이게 뭡니까? 할리버튼의 초크 세레머니까지.
That was actually amazing to see the waveform, to see the gap between the ball hitting the rim, and you actually hear Knicks fans celebrating in the background, thinking that it's a miss.
Yep.
Can we just isolate the shot? That was crazy. That was also a full second.
You guys have to appreciate this part of it, though, Stugotz, because the fear was growing in the building over the last 6 minutes.
Right.
Because there was such silence there, you're picking up sounds here that you normally wouldn't pick up because there's just a blanket of fear in the place, and the ball's suspended as if the game's buffering.
자, 반사하면서 할리버튼 쏩니다.
Wow, that little moment of cheering from the Knicks fans.
The cheers on the way up.
Because normally, when it clangs that way on the rim, you don't get to be celebrated today as better than Dame Lillard and the best player in this series.
I'm reminded
because he got lucky. Because he got lucky.
Yeah.
Shooter's touch.
That was Shooter's bullshit.
He's right about that.
Put it on the
Shooter's
poll.
touch.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard
Wasn't a
Show.
bad shot. It was a good-looking shot.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Was that Shooter's touch or Shooter's bullshit? Shooter's touch doesn't clank that far high.
I mean,
Come on.
It was on such a line. Like, it was a good shot.
Backspin.
It was so pure that it bounced totally vertically and as if pulled on a string to tear out the heart of all of New York.
By little angelic.
We're celebrating a guy who made a mistake. He was trying to step back and take a three. He took a more difficult two.
I mean, that's a take. That's a take.
Well, what he's saying is that was actually in every way a failure.
It's
As a
the
matter
opposite of playing the result. Opposite of playing the result. Out of all the players to say make a free throw or hit rim, step back a little further, Haliburton's the take.
I like what he's saying because a mistake and luck knocks Neesmith off of the news. 6 threes, not as important as the one that wasn't a three, but he thought was a three and almost ended up with an eternal choke sign because he couldn't put his foot in the right place. You all thought of Durant there, right?
A little bit.
Well, I mean, that's what I thought was going to happen in overtime, that they were going to lose the game, and then we'd all look back and say that's the second time. If a guy wore a sneaker that was a size smaller, they'd be moving on. But no. They ended up winning in overtime, and that was the impressive thing about the Pacers.
For reasons I don't understand, Stugotz has a top 5 list of people who have scored more than Reggie Miller. He would like to do that in a second. But before we do that, I have been remiss. Mike blew so much NASCAR breath in my face when I got in here today, and IndyCar too. Have you guys been getting this? Mike's
got it all day yesterday.
Yeah, Mike's obsession with
all day yesterday. Got it for 30 seconds, which is what I'm limited to on this ridiculous show. Even though NASCAR is now a proud partner of this show.
30 seconds too long.
NASCAR is now a proud partner.
Oh yeah,
of this
more
show.
NASCAR.
You know what?
Yeah.
Hold on a
Dipshit.
second.
Yes,
Hold on. This is
Miller Lite. I love Miller Lite.
Get out of here.
We've got a penalty, 5 minutes. Major asshole.
Are you an idiot? Like, are you an idiot?
Say what you want about me, but I would never, ever, ever criticize the brands that are invested in our show.
Does he have to go
He's
too?
got to go too, yeah.
We've got a penalty, 5 minutes. Major asshole.
Back to back.
Do you know how much I appreciate our sponsors? You can't possibly know how much I appreciate our sponsors. And we got this clown show back here. One in a vest, the other one just, I'm a renegade. I can't be controlled. Look, I got so many funny impersonations.
Speaking of our proud sponsors, I've said a couple of times this week, it's the biggest week in motorsports. Sunday, the biggest day in motorsports. Now, yesterday, we covered Kyle Larson aiming to be just the second human being in history to run all 1,100 miles in both the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. So, the nightcap of that double, should Kyle Larson do the impossible?
Can you explain this for a second? Because don't speed through this. I know we don't give you a lot of time here, but just this has been tried before, and he couldn't do it the last time he tried.
Last year, he tried it. It's actually what got me really into NASCAR, the pursuit of history. Kyle Larson racing 2 different races, 2 different cities, 2 different circuits. Kyle Larson made a rookie mistake last year in the Indy 500, came in too fast into the pit, and it cost him the opportunity.
He's
to
Deion
win
Sanders.
That race. Yeah, he's Kyle Larson. We've talked about him before. If it's got wheels, he's probably the best in the planet at driving it. And in Charlotte, because I want to focus on the NASCAR end, he has the opportunity, should the weather hold up, because that was also part of the issue last year. He finished all the miles in the Indy 500 last year, but that race got delayed by weather. And he flew into Charlotte. He was going to switch with a driver in one of the pits. You can do that in NASCAR. But the weather did not cooperate in Charlotte, and he never actually got in the car. So he didn't even feature in that NASCAR race. He's aiming to do all 1,100 miles. The only person in history to do that was Tony Stewart. He finished top 6 in Indy, which was really impressive, and top 3 in Charlotte. No one's ever won both races in one day. If Kyle Larson does that, every show in America needs to be talking about it.
Unlikely for him to do that, correct?
It's unlikely because he's not an IndyCar driver. He just does this as a one-off, and we'll see if he has enough speed. He's kind of pushing the car a little bit, crashed out a couple times in practice because he's really pushing that car. We'll get to what's going on in IndyCar, but I want to focus on NASCAR because should Kyle Larson finish the race in Indy, do all the miles there, he's aiming to do something for just the second time in history. Finish all the miles in what is NASCAR's longest race. Charlotte has, and Larson won at Charlotte last year when it was the Roval. But he's going to be doing this very long primetime race. It's going to be Amazon Prime's first race of their new contract with Dale Jr. helping on the call. And it should be an amazing race. Hendrick, he's a racer for Hendrick Motorsports. They usually perform quite well in Charlotte, so he has a really good chance at this track. Should he do the Indy 500, and just for him to complete all the miles, that's a hell of an accomplishment. Should he win it, everybody needs to be tuning in to Charlotte to see if Kyle Larson can do something that no one has ever done. Gearhead, by the way, is presented by NASCAR, our proud partners. For all the latest insights and storylines, to find out when and where to watch, visit NASCAR.com.
He's too dangerous a pirate. This is what he is. He is Amin El-Hassan. He cannot be trusted around our beloved brands because he's too dangerous for mainstream media.
I love them all. I love all of our brands. Every single last one of them.
By the way, if we have another break, I'd love to tell you what's going on with Team Penske and IndyCar. It's a huge controversy, biggest scandal in sports.
I'd like to actually talk about this for a second before we get back to. I do want at some point Stugotz's tears because when he says broken last night, I don't know if he still cares as much as you need to care about just in general sports. And I'm not. Like, we've been in this business a long time, Stugotz, so I understand how it is that, like, Ben Stiller, for example, would be just a child around the Knicks. Still, like a child, and that being in this business would harden you in a way that wouldn't make you break anymore after 25 years of suffering because you're an adult now and you're not consumed and obsessed with sports being your entire life like when you were in your early 20s. And so it doesn't hurt for you if you don't care as much as the next person does.
I care deeply. It hurt last night, but it was game 1 of a best-of-7 series in which we have home court, and so I believe in this Knicks team. My apologies for believing in my team. I've been waiting 25, 30 years for this team to get to an Eastern Conference Finals. They're here. I'm not going to let the good feelings I have be sullied by one lucky basket by Haliburton. I'm just not going to do it.
What if they lose game 2?
Tears. Full tears. Then the series is over. Then I have something to cry about. Last night was a bad moment. The season's not over yet. There's still hope. I still feel like we have the better team.
The thing that I'm confused by, the only thing that I'm confused by as it relates to how it is that Stugotz would or should suffer it. Sure, that's the perspective to have if any team that's the favorite loses game 1 at home. However, the way they lost.
Right.
The way they lost, where your fan base goes from jubilant to now terrified. They're now going into the same arena they played in last time with this fear sweeping through New York because you dared to hope the thing that's been hopeless for a long time. And so, in the careening emotions of that, I can imagine that this will linger. You're showing the correct perspective, but it's not.
It will linger if we lose the series. It will not linger if they win game 2 and go back to Indiana 1-1. They'll be fine.
Okay, so do you believe in the idea of this kind of loss? Means something? Where we're having some conversations about, do you think Karl Anthony Towns was relieved this morning because Brunson shot the air ball and he merely ticked the front of the rim? So it wasn't 2 straight air balls while you're choking from your 2 big guys. That Karl Anthony Towns is waking up and raising a fist to the air because he's like, Brunson didn't even hit the rim. I came closer.
Dan, I look at last night's game because they're so evenly matched, but I see the Knicks up 14 with under 3 minutes to go, up 9 with under a minute to go, and I feel pretty good about our chances moving forward. Like last night really, really hurt, but it was game 1. It was not game 6. It was not game 7. It was game 1, and we have home court advantage. Get this thing back to the Mecca for a game 7 at home.
Can you believe what you're hearing?
And we win.
Do you guys, Mike?
I learned it from you.
Mike, we've been doing this show for 20 years. Now it's
game 1.
crushing historic loss
the Pacers
for all time, and Stugotz is going to just bravado his way through it.
Also, for his take to be, I have faith in my team. They're the New York Knicks.
Right.
That's stuff like
this team.
No.
Yes.
Why?
This
team hasn't done anything yet.
This is not a typical New York Knicks team. This team is good.
They just had the biggest choke in
Of
NBA
all time.
history. What are you talking about? This is not the same New York Knicks.
They'll bounce back. Aren't you guys interested to see if this team has the mental fortitude to bounce back after that devastating
very
loss?
interested.
Right.
But if I were a Knicks fan, I'd be highly doubtful and not cocksure the way that you are.
All right. I'm confident in Brunson. What can I tell you? He gives me confidence,
This
guy.
is faux cocksureness.
It is. It is. I think,
you think I'm devastated, huh?
I think it's a mask.
Yeah.
I think you're spewing lies,
That
as
or you,
always.
That or you were genuinely locked in on Stars Oilers. It's the only other explanation.
I mean, I can't believe they blew that third period lead.
You are
the best player in the world.
Tony Reale, would you like to make a verdict here? We think that
Stars are banged up.
Stugotz
I'm just amused. I love Stu feeling these emotions in his life where everything's going to work out great. And it's wonderful because we have such a history of year upon year of success. Oh, no. You should be panicked. You should be pulling your hair out right now, Stu. What are you talking about?
You're not giving the people the authentic heartbreak that they want today. New York, Stugotz, they dared to hope. I'm not saying that it's hopeless. It can't start worse than that.
It can't, Dan, but if you asked any Knick fan, hey, Eastern Conference Finals home court advantage before the season, they'd be like, yeah, we'll take it. Sign me up. That feels good.
That's just a coping strategy.
is.
What you're doing now is you're trying to lower expectation.
I am. Thank you.
So that the fall from the top of this mountain is not going to hurt you.
It's all self-protection. He won't show us his real feelings. This is caveman male behavior from him. He's wrapped in
it's
armor.
An admirable trait. It comes from a place of being a Jets fan. It comes from a place we get what that is. But there is a part of the Knicks that is Jets, and that is Mets. There isn't a part of the Knicks that is Yankees in that way. The fans may feel they're that, but they're not. There is a trait, a DNA sequence in the New York Knicks that leans Mets and Jets.
How did you feel as somebody who loves New York, I would say?
I have melancholy of missing out right now. I said this to somebody this week because this show's ending in the middle of the playoffs, Dan. Now I'm beginning to at least feel a little bit like, what? In the middle of the playoffs? I've waited for this story for 20 years to talk about New York basketball, and I'm not even going to see it to the end. I went to the game a couple games ago. I see all my colleagues courtside and in press row. I went as a fan just to hang out with some friends, and I'm not even going to see it to the end. So now I'm experiencing that, and I'm watching how good these games are, and it's just like, I'm going to have a chance to talk about it today on Around the Horn, but I won't next week. And that's now something that's in this part. It hits me here. It hits me right here.
Well, can I hire you as a Meadowlark New York Knicks correspondent better than Sam Morril to do something after Around the Horn?
You don't have enough? You've got Stu. Stu, I am impressed, honestly, by your positivity today.
Thank you.
It's something that I find aspirational.
Thank you.
I think that you've got Stu, you got it covered.
Do you know how sad it is when Tony Reale is looking for inspiration for positivity? And that's the sign that this is rock bottom.
And I found it in Stugotz.
This is Tony's fault. I spent too much time with him, talking to him.
We had a wonderful conversation, Stu. Stu asked questions. He asked the tough questions. He asked the questions Dan Patrick won't ask, right? And that was a wonderful thing. So Stu and I shared a moment this week, and he may have taken on my overall outlook of life with the New York Knicks, which is undeserved. That you should not have that outlook with the Knicks. They haven't earned it.
Man, a guy that's going to be out of work soon. Dan offered him a job, and he said no. That's sad. That's pathetic.
I thought he said he wanted to work around the Knicks. He's going to miss it so much, and then he's offered.
Not for us.
Sounds
like Dan Patrick. I don't know.
I'll be yelling at a street corner. I'll be yelling for you. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I just wanted that to see a season to the end and not end on May 23rd, going away to the end of the
unhouselessness over us.
Yeah.
You're making the media rounds these days. I'm reading a lot of things about you all of a sudden.
I said yes to everybody, which is, somebody called me a recluse, Dan, this week. The usually reclusive reality. I've been on TV every day for 25 years. I think I felt like I had my voice out there. I didn't need to do interviews every day, but I was what I was appreciative. I came on. You said, come on the show that one day the press release came out or whatever it was. I was basically holding a phone in front of, I was on the screen. I just came on. It was the worst photo you could possibly. Now that's the photo they put out there. When awful announcing is like, we polled 5 people in our office and around the horn was just okay. Well, thanks for that article, awful announcing. And this is the photo we're going to put a reality out there too.
Yeah, your hair was terrible in it. You looked unprofessional. You looked.
I dropped the phone onto my crotch in the middle of it.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. As an audition for America, it was embarrassing. You seemed nervous as well, but things.
You did that to me. You loved it.
But now look at you. Now soaring.
that hair.
Now soaring through the sky, turning down job offers, have competition for all of a sudden everyone's like, look at this positive television sports person who can do live things well. Perhaps he's been in a cage at ESPN and is now going to soar freely through the cosmos.
I never felt I was in a cage. I'd be the circus animal who'd be dancing along in the cage like, hey guys, how we doing? I'm too much of a pleaser to begin with.
Okay, well, pleaser, you've made the media rounds here recently on a show that had more episodes. I saw Pablo wrote this the other day. More episodes than Oprah. More episodes than Jerry Springer. There was somebody else. I'm forgetting.
Letterman, it was on there. These are talk shows, right? I mean, Sesame Street and Simpsons have incredible numbers, and maybe we're at a higher number than that, but those aren't talk shows. I'm just having to generate show every day. Those are the numbers. And PTI is even above us by another 200 episodes. So yeah, that's pretty great. That's in the top 10 all time in the history of that medium. If you trust Wikipedia.
Art of Conversation.
It was a good run.
It was a hell of a run.
It was a good run.
Art of Conversation is what you hit me with. It was
Riley
2.
Tyson,
It was 2 episodes.
2 episodes.
Yes.
Riley and Ricky.
2 episodes.
Oh, Ricky, huh?
No, not
No, it was
Ricky.
Tyson.
I said Tyson.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah,
You see where
Chris didn't know what he was doing.
You know what I was doing there.
They had Ricky in the can. It didn't get picked up. Do you have the unreleased Ricky Art of Conversation?
Do we have the rights to that? We should air that.
It was unnecessary. We're celebrating this man.
Yeah, you can give me. I can take anything you got. That's fine.
Well, but
we're taking shots at him.
They're making fun of the Art of Conversation,
Yes.
a 2-episode show
and
that
the
I
idea
had.
of what a talk show is. Somebody was critical of me today because I had allowed to say that there were journalists on our show, and they even practiced journalism from occasion because I didn't acknowledge it was a show. A sports show, an entertainment show. I mean, I didn't think that was needing to be said, right? I mean, I think that was do we take ourselves too seriously? Nobody in my life would imagine that. I think
he might actually literally be thinking about the art of conversation.
He doesn't know about the show.
He doesn't know about it.
It was only 2 episodes. How should he know?
Tony Riley was doing his own show.
Which aired. People are still talking about it.
He was faking it. He can do that. He's a professional television person. He can roll with anything. He has no idea what the art of conversation is. Mm-hmm. It was a joke you made to cut me, and it was funny to the people in our audience who saw either of those 2 episodes or have heard us talk about it. But reality doesn't know what you're talking about.
Were you ever tuned in to ESPN2 at 2 a.m. in the morning in the year 2017?
I was sabotaged
for a 2-week period.
I missed those 2 episodes, but a
lot of people did.
There was a third.
They're important in the story that
didn't get a prime time slot.
Ursula Van Talk had a longer run.
Wasn't given a real shot. Not the point. When I'm talking about Around the Horn, one of the great success stories in the history of ESPN and in sports television. And he now leaves the job, and you guys should know the conversation around it, by the way, because your last show is next Friday, Tony, and then you're going to come
This
down
Friday,
here.
but thanks for keeping up with my life.
Sorry, okay. This
Tomorrow,
Friday.
I'm on here. You're the second to last person I'm going to talk to. Kornheiser gets that last one on Friday morning. And that's where we are. And then on Friday afternoon, I'm going to be taking the boat over to the studio for the last time, and we got our finale planned.
Forgive me for this. I have been very in tune with your life, as you know, over the last many months, and you've been running toward this springboard with trepidation and excitement because it's an entirely new life for you. But while you're making these media rounds, I'm seeing someone who is my friend, an exceedingly kind person, a light all the time, having to make arguments against Jay Mariotti about your show or ESPN being too political or too woke when all I've ever seen you to be politically on air is kindness and decency.
Yeah, I don't know where, I don't know where it really started. I'm not that person, but I know what I am, so that's fine. I don't feel like I have to respond to anybody. I don't mind responding. I still, in my head, am scoring those arguments. You write an article about the show that is even viewing it in a critical eye, prove why your opinion is right. But if you're not going to give me examples of the reason why you feel this way, why the show got too serious because on the week that a Denver Broncos player died by suicide, Woody Page wrote a column about his depression, and we talked about it on the TV show, that's taking you too serious. I can understand that some people view one show as only one thing. This is only an escape, and I only want to see faces get muted, and I only want... But the show could evolve to something else as well and aspire to be something else for 30 seconds, for 60 seconds, and then go back to whatever it was we were doing before. I was proud to be on a show that had that type of flexibility and agility, and I thought that, and I think the network should be happy about that. That it's not just cowboy hat wearing Cowboys stink, and it's not just good cop, bad cop on the show that I love more than anything, PTI. Then there was a moment where somebody may have be bearing a soul for 30 seconds. And then the same breath, we'll be talking about who you got, Aaron Judge versus Shohei Ohtani. In my life, I like to do it all. I like to do everything. So the conversations in our show were, I was hopeful that they were everything. But I can understand people feel differently.
How's the last week been for you?
It's been great. Oh, I got to see Michael Smith, who I hadn't seen in years. I got to see Israel Gutierrez is, around us. I got to see all some old friends that hadn't been on the show for a while. I have enjoyed every second of it. This is the weird thing about goodbyes. I've had a long goodbye, too long of a goodbye if I had my pick. I don't think we should be saying goodbye to the show, but now that it's been decided and we're saying goodbye, I'm enjoying that, right? Because you don't usually get to go out on your own terms, and maybe somebody might. No one said anything to me. I haven't heard a thing from anybody, even in this week. It's going to be a great week. We're watching. I haven't heard that from anybody. I don't need to hear that. So I'm going out the way I want to go out, which means I'm going to be the real ones know that the first 2 minutes of tomorrow's show are going to have a very reality moment. I'm going to recreate something that means a lot to me. And the back end of the show is going to have the scoring explained because I'm happy to do that. And we're going to see our 8 greatest panelists, our 8, biggest winners in the show's history for the breadth of the show.
How difficult was it to pick the panelists for this week? Because I'm sure you wanted everyone part of it. I'm sure everyone wanted. I
wanted to go with the $30, Chris. When Atlanta gets a snowstorm and they show the weather people in an $18 or whatever it is, and they're all pulling their hair out because there's an inch of snow. I wanted that. We couldn't necessarily pull that off. I think it's pretty easy when you look at the final standings, which we do. Stu, when you're on the show, we sent you a research packet. You never opened that up.
No.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
But if you had opened it up, the last page of every research packet was the all-time standings. Because I wanted everyone to be competitive about that. Yeah. So we have a pretty clear top 8, actually, of wins and appearances. So that's what it came down to. I think you would know the list. Of course, you can't do tomorrow's show the finale without Woody Page and Bob Ryan and Tim Kalishaw and Jay Adande and Kevin Blackistone. I'm going to be able to welcome Jackie McMullen back as well, which is great. You know, Frank Isola is on the show tomorrow, which I love. And Pablo's going to be in the house, but he didn't crack the win percentage because of all those terrible predictions he had. But
would I be in that 30 box, Tony? Would I be in that 30 box?
Would you crack the top 30?
Yeah.
No, I think Lil Wayne would be pressing you out right there.
Oh, that's too bad.
He had an incredible take in his FaceTime. Just went back and watched it. This is Lil Wayne just dropping in for an episode because he was a fan of the show. He had just won, Grammys, and he was on his way to having 8 root canals. 8 root canals. I remember this because I was tracking what he was doing the week after, and the story came out. But his FaceTime was, I've spent my whole life with this fear of Lawrence Taylor, LT, the toughest guy in the world, the toughest football player in the world. Oh, he's going out there like a pack of crazy dogs, LT, and he talked about how great of a player he was. And they said, now LT is on Dancing with the Stars. Little Twinkle Toes, LT. And I thought it was what a great FaceTime. So sorry, Stu, that knocked out the moment where you appeared as the enlarged mononuclear spleen of Sam Darnold, your Jets quarterback, who was at that time out with mono.
Yeah. I won that week, too.
You did. You deserved the win. You dressed up as a spleen on international television. And the first words you said was, Tony, let me spleen something to you. All right, I got some spleening to do here. I mean, how could I not reward that? So, yes, this was a show that took itself very seriously. I thought of myself as 60 Minutes and Meet the Press as I was interviewing a spleen on TV.
How does this work for you in terms of being surprised?
Look at that face right there. That's my surprise face, too. That's listening face. That's surprise. I'm sorry, Dan. I interrupted you.
That's my young face.
That's okay.
That's your young face. Look, but why is your hair wet?
He showered for your show.
Yes.
He showered.
But
That was him cleaning up for television.
A lot of gel. Yeah.
It was at Dan's wedding.
Yeah.
When you were rolling in well after the ceremony, why watch Dan get married?
Right.
Brushing his teeth.
You took a shower with a water bottle. I saw it
in a guy's driveway
on the walk from the car to where we were, and you put water in your hair. You like that look, huh?
I do.
He's brushing his teeth behind the bush.
We were all there. I mean, we saw it. We were all there. You can't run from that. That's why that man is not worried about the Knicks, because he knows when it comes down to it, he's going to be able to brush his teeth on the way to somebody's most important moment of their lives and wash his hair with a water bottle.
Can you take us through here when you're talking about how great this week has been, whatever goodbye is going to be, and however you want the punctuation on this thing to look tomorrow? I am certain that you will get emotional. I know I did. And I did a show that I was very proud of that didn't have a third of the run.
The Art of Conversation
of your show. You have something in your legacy that very few people ever get, which is a community of a generation of people who care about something that you did on television. And so what's going to happen tomorrow as you say goodbye? What are you imagining as you walk in, and what are you leaving?
I mean, this week, just to start with that, I've had to already say goodbye to now 10 panelists, 15 panelists. They won't be on tomorrow's show. Their spirit will be there, yada, yada. So, I mean, to see Harry Lyles yesterday was very emotional talking about it, because I know what's behind that, too. I really do. We've done the work, Harry and I, together, and I tried to do that with every panelist. But I know what he's feeling and what he's talking about, because he was a reporter, much like myself when I was 25 on TV as a host. We all had imposter syndrome, and we're faking it until we make it and doing everything, right? And he's just imagining himself. What am I going to be thinking? Well, that first 2.5 minutes of the show where I am going to be in Tony performer mode, which is naturally me, but it's going to be, I'm not going to get emotional at that. My kids are going to be on set. I have a special guest on set that is probably going to make me not get emotional. It's going to make me giggle and have fun. So the first segments of the show will be that. I'm going to have some close people to me right off camera too, which is probably going to throw me for a loop a little bit when I am in the moment of the show. But I'm going to be very focused on Woody and Bob and Tim and J.A. and making sure that they get their moment too. I'm the star in my own movie, but everybody's a star in their own movie. So
Chris, is this
I
him
have to be the
dinging?
host.
Is that who's dinging around here?
That's me. So, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I'm also, doing Around the Horn today.
Yeah, you're very
And,
popular. You're very
What was the ding you heard? That's I have to do the twinkle from Back to the Future.
It's fine.
Is that a copyright now that you guys are going to be charged
when
for
you come
stealing the
down
noise?
here later? When you come down here in a month, $5 you owe us because that's not.
Sorry about that.
That's not allowed.
Let me
to
turn it
happen.
off. So I'm going to be too present. There's my mononucleose. Definitely.
Sam
out.
Darnold's spleen, ladies and gentlemen. This is Stugotz
So what we
breaking
like
through to
about this
stardom.
commitment to the costume, right? I mean, you can see that was touched by the finest seamstress in land.
We didn't have much of a costume budget then, I don't think.
That just looks terrible. If you look at it from a different angle, it's just even going to a worse place than the spleen. Oh my goodness! Why did we allow that on TV?
Let me ask you.
What a great question. Did the Nats win it or the Astros blow it? I mean,
this is what you want, a spleen answer. You see, that's so that way. Wait, let me get that right. So then that had to be like Game 3 of the World.
Yeah.
I heard, Tony, when you came into the broadcast, I heard someone say that you were shaking your head before you came on because someone said something around here about mental fortitude. That you immediately, who was it? Was it Stugotz talking about mental fortitude?
Yes. Intestinal fortitude, mental fortitude. You had said maybe even the word tortured soul. So of course, this is what I'm walking into. I didn't know what I was listening to. I thought you were talking about me.
You always do. You always do. That's what television distorts. Yes,
but mental fortitude. That would be a banned phrase on Around the Horn if we made it to season 24.
That is correct because no matter what the critics would say about that show, it did do it differently and it made things smarter. It was viewed and weaponized as a political vehicle just because Tony proudly gave diverse voices a chance to speak on a stage where ESPN was woefully deficient in that area. These were groundbreaking shows that Eric Rydholm proceeded over, and this one ends, and I'm reading reports with this, that they wanted Tony and Mike to do twice the show now, but they weren't, the reports are saying, they weren't offering them more money to do more of the shows, but clearly what was built there is being pushed out because you still haven't gotten a good explanation from anybody.
I've had to live with the idea that, do I need one? I've gone through, moments where I'm like, do I need one? Do I not need one? I have to now because of the absence of any explanation and any communication. They've got their hands full, and they have to be understanding that, I have to be understanding that they're dealing with things that are, very serious. So they have to be addressing those, and they've already made their decision. I thought I could change their mind for many, many months. And maybe there was a plan. I would have to believe and hope there was a plan. But I don't know if I had it explained to me. I know I definitely said, well, this is going away. You know what if I was in the business of running things, I would be paying the highest rated show all the money in the world and asking them to work as long as I possibly could. So I don't think it would be the best PTI if PTI expanded from 30 minutes to an hour, but I sure as heck would want the highest rated show and my friends to be making so much more money to do more work. Absolutely. That's what I would have approached it as. Yeah.
But you're proud of what you made.
Of course, Dan. I'm proud. I still will believe it's good that there's different shows on a network and there's different voices on a network and the shows that do different things. So I will be more than I always felt PTI and Around the Horn. And I will say this proudly. It wasn't the ESPN PTI 30 minutes. It was the ESPN happy hour. You can tell me any way. I know this show was driving ratings that they had to be happy and proud of, because I've seen press releases for shows at our network that they've been happy and proud of, and the ratings weren't even that. And the ratings growth wasn't even what we had the day the first report came out that they were thinking about it. So I know what that is. I've heard from people who know the business a lot more than me, how profitable a show this was. I have an idea how profitable it was because people have written about other shows and their wonderful contracts, and everybody should be making all the money in the world. But hearing all these wonderful things, I know our show had to be incredibly profitable for a network. And that fills me with a little bit of pride from a business side of it. But that doesn't mean anything to me when I wake up in the morning and go to bed at night after doing a show. I wanted to put great content out there, great shows out there, fun shows, because I think more than anything, I have to say this now because somebody thought I was being serious at times in our 50,000 episodes, and I was happy to be heartful would be the word I would use. We had fun. So this was a fun show. And PTI Around the Horn, highly questionable. I know in my heart, and I know viewers have told me this for 20 years plus, those shows feel different. They feel different than what the network does, and that's good. You should want different. That's how I feel.
You've always been very cool about being publicly vulnerable and honest. So I am legitimately curious about this because I haven't asked you this off air. Yeah. In what tomorrow will be for you at the punctuation of an incredible run, do you think you'll have 100% gratitude without any of the hurt or the I know we can put.
Yeah, I think I'm there. I think I'm already there. That's about me releasing the need for an explanation or me knowing. I've had my 2 conversations over 5 months, and I don't know if I'm getting another one. I would welcome another one. I would welcome another one today. Even someone saying, I know you had a big show tomorrow. We'll be watching, and the shows have been great. That would be nice to hear, but I don't need to hear that. I've had 6 months really to deal with this, Dan, and you've been on the other end of the call many times.
Hold on, Tone.
Yes.
But hold on. If I just may, right? Like you're putting a brave face on that. And yeah, it's business. Nobody has to care about you. You're not owed anything. That's what the money's for. They paid you. But it sounds like what you're saying is some form of, hey, does someone over there want to give me a hug because we did a nice thing here together for 23 years? And
I give hugs. The hugs are free. So yes, I would appreciate a hug. Yeah, of course. I can admit that. I have had heart-to-hearts with many people in the industry, and you're at the top of that list, Dan, who have told me what a gift this is for me. A gift. So I was given a gift. They may not even be thinking about me as but I have a gift going forward, and I've had many moments in the last 2 to 3
Sounds like he gave himself a point.
Yeah, again, I'm sorry. 2 to 3 weeks where people who are in the industry that I don't know, who are just aware of me, who have given me a gift so that I don't have anxiety about May 24th and August 31st and the next whatever years of my career. I have no anxiety for that because I know I am appreciated. I know it was not unnoticed that I was on TV for 23 years for a show that made an imprint and did some wonderful things. I know that's known. I have no fear. I don't need someone to tell me it every single day.
Well,
the punctuation's coming, so there should be a conversation.
But just so you know, and I know you know this because I know you know the power of television. I know you know the power of feelings. Just so that you know, Jeremy Taché says that you are his greatest inspiration. Now, that is a lovely compliment and also an insult.
And defined.
He was incredible with the bachelorette party at the baseball game last week.
Hey, thanks, Tony.
I haven't sent you that note yet, Jeremy, but it's on my things to do list. I said this stupid thing that I was going to reach out to everybody who said something to the show. Now I'm starting my website, Dan. Can you give me a plug?
Yes, please. Here, the floor is yours.
PonyReality.com.
No, but hold on. If I may, I look to support everything that unspools in Tony's future here, and so
there's going to be a lot of unspooling.
Tell the people where and what they can find where they look for you.
Well, I want to connect with people like Jeremy, but even. I've been getting a lot of letters throughout my career. I've been getting books sent to me and vice versa. These are about sports. These are about sports casting. But more often than not, they're about some of those more heartful stories, not the too serious, as was called, the more heartful stories. I was on the phone yesterday, Dan, with a phone number that was left on the bottom of a letter that I've been trying to call for a week. And there was no one picking up on the other end of that phone. And I was worried. And I had someone pick up on the other end of that phone yesterday. And right when I sign off with you, I'm getting called. So yesterday's pickup was, I can't believe you actually called. Today's phone call is going to be talking about exactly how heartfelt his letter was to me and why somebody needs to be talking to him right now. So I want to be doing that in spaces as well. And this is sports conversations as well. But on my website, TonyReality.com, I'm going to have some buttons, and I'm working with tech people where we can have this connection and forums where we can have the great sports debates that I was having with everybody, and Stu included, experts and Stu that I had on Around the Horn. I want to go around the horn with the average viewers, our average sports fans, our fans.
We got to go, Reali.
Okay.
All right, quickly.
And there's a YouTube page too.
All right, we're going to put it up here for you. We're going to put the graphics up for you. There's a YouTube page too, but Stugotz has an important question for you as punctuation.
All right, very quick. Panelists for your life. Okay, you have to choose one of these guys. They go on Around the Horn. They have to win the game or you die. Okay.
Yes.
Bob Ryan, Woody Page, panelists for your life.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Bob Ryan would win the debate. Woody Page would be the one left standing with life. You said for life, then Woody Page is going to survive.
Cowardice in that answer.
No cowardice. You asked me who would be surviving for their life. Woody Page.
No, you need to choose one panelist. They need to win Around the Horn. Otherwise, you die.
That's
okay?
right.
Sarah Spain.
Sarah Spain.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Commish.
Finger on the laser beam, and we're about to explode planet Earth, and I needed somebody to win the arguments and do it in an Around the Horn way. Prove their opinion, do it in an entertaining way. Maybe the commish, Sarah Spade.
Good seeing you, Tony. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
I love you, Dan. The middle of June, I'm coming for a full week in Miami.
Love you, buddy.